Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, online game Doomsday. I became an NPC. Chapter 81. Boom. There was a bang. Blazing flames spewed upwards from the top of the scepter. The sudden deflagration scene shocked everyone. Could this be the level 20 skill of the scepter? Don't tell me there's a magician in this game. Ahem. Who said the scepter is a sewer weapon before? What the hell, the sword that has just reached level 20 wants to change jobs again. Amidst the discussion among the crowd, Saikisuke put down his scepter. After spraying flames for more than 10 seconds, his mana has bottomed out. Even the sand values are starting to drop. You have to stop and take it easy. After taking a deep breath for a while and stabilizing his state, Saikisuke said. Level 20 Scepter Skill, Fire Ability Awakening Elementary. Skill Effect, you can use the scepter to control fire. However, there are prerequisites, and it can only be used if there is a fire source nearby. Consumes mana 25 points s, no skill CD. The damage is the original damage of the fire, no other bonuses. Quote. You can only use the scepter to control the fire, can't you directly generate the fire source? Some players wondered. For example, directly use the fire element to condense the flames, summon the rain of flames and fire in the sky, and so on. The condensed fire elements are here, then it's not a superpower, it should belong to the category of magic. A player responded, have you ever seen Magneto, who generated iron sheets by himself? And what about the flames and rain? In other games, it is probably a skill that can only be used by a great magister. In this game, the scepter must not reach 100 levels to be a minister. Too difficult. Wait, if you can only control the fire, where is the source of the fire just now? A player has discovered a blind spot. Fire control must have the precondition of fire source. What about the source of the fire? The players started discussing in a hurry. On Saikisuke's side, he slowly stretched out his left hand. In his left hand he holds a lighter. Dada. Shiifu pressed it twice, and flames shot out from the lighter. 11. The players froze for a moment. Suddenly, I don't want to change weapons so much. Holding the scepter in the right hand to control the fire is pretty cool, but holding the lighter in the left hand to light the fire, the force will come down all of a sudden. If there is no fire source nearby, and there is no lighter in hand, wouldn't this skill be useless? After Shiyisuke took out the lighter, the players present lost interest immediately. They turned around and walked towards the material mountain, waiting to deliver the materials to Star City Stark. Star City Stark walked to Shiyisuke and said, according to your description, the scepter needs a lot of mana to control the fire, and it needs the precondition of fire source, which is too restrictive. These guys are all practical, and they definitely won't change their weapons for scepters. Quote. But, when Star City Stark said this, a smile appeared on his face. I've recorded a video of the few seconds you used your skills just now, and I'll post it on the internet when the grass wall is built. Such a burning picture will definitely attract many players. In the future battle against plague ghosts, we will not lack in this aspect of combat power. Quote. It feels like we're pulling Mungshin into the pit. Saikisuke muttered. Star City Stark shook his head and said, it's not considered a newcomer, as far as the current development prospects of the scepter are not bad. At level 20, the primary fire ability can be awakened. After the level is high, it may not be impossible to use high-level skills like the fire and rain. Moreover, the scepter should not only have the ability skills of the fire department to learn, but also skill books of other departments. Seriously, if the scepter had the ability to awaken and control metal, I would throw the gun away immediately. The ability to control metal can make woohoo take off. Star City Stark smacked his mouth and sighed. This kind of 100% realistic game, I step on a metal sword and fly directly with the sword. This is not as cool as a jetpack. Shiifu also laughed when he heard the words, the skill book of metal control must be sold at sky-high prices. As long as there is something in stock, I'm sure I can get it. Star City Stark raised his chin. The whole body reveals the confidence of the Krypton Gold boss. After the skill episode, I entered today's main task. Build a wall. More than 100 players are responsible for handing over materials. After Stark City Stark gets the materials, use the sub-professional skills. As soon as the right hand is lifted, a 1x1x1 grass wall appears out of thin air. Then he jumped on the grass wall and continued to do so. The grass walls are built up piece by piece. After these grass walls are built, they are perfectly integrated into one piece, and there is no need for cement and other cementitious materials. It has to be said that the skills of online game templates are really the hang-ups of players in the apocalypse. If it is completely real, let alone a 20-meter radius and 10-meter high wall. It's just a small guardrail, and these players have to work hard. With the help of online gaming skills, in just 3 hours, a 10-meter high grass wall was built 20 meters away from the residential building. There was still more than an hour, which was used to change part of the grass wall into a straight line. The grass gate is divided into 2 entrances. Large entrance, 3 meters long and 3 meters high. It will only be opened when it is ensured that there is no invasion of end-time creatures and the flow of people is very large. Usually keep the normally closed state. The small entrance is 1 meter long and 2.5 meters high. Unless the end-time creatures invade, it will not be closed. Some players suggested that after making a big entrance, just make a narrow entrance so narrow that only one player can get in. The result was unanimously opposed by the rest of the players. Even if it is to protect the resurrection point, it is not necessary to let them drill dog holes every day. After all the peripheral protection was done, the players began to collect the remaining materials and put them into the collective warehouse. Any player in the residential building can get it from the collective warehouse if needed. Prodigal Zoe stood next to the iron gate on the first floor, looked up at the 10-meter high wall in front of him, and couldn't help sighing loudly. What is a sense of security? This is called a sense of security. The zombies are absolutely unable to crawl through the invasion and crawl. They can only forcefully break through the grass wall. The grass wall has a physical defense of 100 points, which is higher than the rare armor on us. The durability is as high as 150 points. Let these zombies scratch for days and nights, I'm afraid they won't be able to break through this wall. The rest of the players couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they heard Prodigal Zoe's voice. With the 10-meter high wall standing in front of my eyes, my heart is really much more at ease. As long as those intelligent high-level end-time creatures don't know how to set fire, then we will be safe. After all, the fire defense of this grass wall is -200, a fire, it can't be completely burned. Quote. Prodigal Zoe's voice came again. The surrounding players collectively looked at him with black question mark faces. Where are you going to put the flag here? I noticed that other players looked at me in the wrong way. Saikisuke finally realized that he had set a big flag. Ah, don't panic, everyone, my brother can control the fire, it's fine if it burns. Prodigal Zoe quickly pointed to Saikisuke next to him. However, Saikisuke didn't want to mop the floor for him, so he paused and said, Brother, the mana cost is 25 points. If you can pick it up, you can only control it for a few seconds. And I'm still a primary fire type ability, and the 10-meter high grass wall is set on fire. Are you sure I can handle it? Quote. This grass wall of weak fire is indeed a hidden danger. Star City Stark couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief. G-virus mutants above the 4th level obviously have the IQ of normal humans. If you really want to attack a residential building, take a box of small matches and squat under the wall a little bit, and you're done. Actually, this matter is not difficult to solve. The grass wall is 20 meters away from us. We can build another wall in the middle that is not afraid of fire. A player suggested. And build 2 walls. Are you defending against giants? Some players couldn't help complaining. Star City Stark lowered his head and said thoughtfully. Building 2 walls doesn't seem impossible. Shiifu reacted. Could it be that you already have the skills to build higher level walls? Star City Stark shook his head. It's just that the proficiency of the grass wall is full, which reminds me that I can unlock the stone wall. But you need to unlock the stone wall design book, I don't know where to get this stuff. Quote. How did you unlock the construction of the grass wall? Saikisuke reminded. NPC mission. Brother Chuan. Star City Stark suddenly had a bold idea in his heart. He turned his head and ran towards the residential building. Room 1501. When the player is building the grass wall, Joseph is frantically eating books indoors and exchanging points for attributes. Previous 5,000 points. In 3,000 points can be exchanged for skill books for sale. 1,400 points can be exchanged for weapons and props. 100 points made a mysterious businessman, INPC. I thought to myself, for the remaining 500 points, it would be okay to change to 50 points of attributes. Result: 4 level 20 skill books were sold out at once, which brought Zhou Zechuan's points back to 10,500 points. Everything else has been arranged. Zhou Zechuan can squander the 10,500 points and exchange them for attributes. It also started him a long, painful and joyful process. Exchange, Book of Life, and Book of Agility. These props that increase attributes can be exchanged for hundreds or thousands of books at one time. B. Only use one at a time. That is to say, Zhou Zechuan had to repeatedly confirm whether to use the Book of Life and whether to use the Book of Agility to the system in his consciousness. A total of 10-50 times. Zhou Zechuan really misses playing games before time travel, being able to use these items with mouse clicks. A crazy click of the mouse. You can see your attributes skyrocket. Now, he gotta have in mind. Keep confirming. Keep confirming. Zhou Zechuan's brain is going to be numb for sure. Only after seeing the skyrocketing attribute points can he feel a little comfort in his heart. Eating books, 10 points for some attributes. For Zhou Zechuan, who spared his life, the first thing to improve is naturally his physique. Anyway, let's talk about the meat. 60 points of basic constitution. Spend 5,400 points. Crazy rise to 600 points. Straight to the limit of the perfect genetic human. In addition to level 20 skills, the skill effect of the sword bone, 10% increase in physical fitness, strength, and agility. Constitution reaches 660 points. Zhou Zechuan's blood volume has directly reached an astonishing 6,820 points, 220 provided by 6,600 plus frost armor. Compared with before, the length of his health bar has directly increased by 10 times. The blood volume of 6,820 is 1820 points higher than the night hunting of the third order G virus variant. It can be said that Zhou Zechuan is completely a humanoid monster now. With his current vitality and physical hardness, even without armor, it can resist a lot of damage. The kind of AKM that can't kill you even if it hits the head with a single bullet. After filling up the physique, there are still 5,100 points left over 10,000 points. Zhou Zechuan didn't hesitate at all. The remaining 5,100 points were all eating books, and eating them on agility. As an NPC that cannot be resurrected for free, it is inevitable to give priority to filling up the physique and agility. We must ensure that the basic principle that if you can't beat me, you can slip away. Only then can he get along better in the last days. Of course, he can use his points to exchange several rebirth onks. Just like pressing the cheat book, up, down, left, right, baba, you can get bow life. Many lives, okay, of course good, but this thing needs points. The improvement of one's own strength is fundamental. No matter how many lives, if there is no strength, wouldn't it just be giving away heads all the time? Zhou Zechuan just needs to ensure that he always has the effect of an onk of rebirth and has a fault tolerance rate. The point is to increase the combat power first. The remaining 5,100 points are cleared. After adding sword bone, agility reached 27 points, which means that the base movement speed has also reached 627 points. Zhou Zechuan wears stinger greaves to increase his movement speed by 15%. Turn on 3-stage slash and then increase the movement speed by 30%. His current limit burst movement speed is 909 points. In this dagger assassin system, the player's maximum agility is only 35 points. The era when the movement speed does not exceed 50. Zhou Zechuan's explosive movement speed has reached 909 points. If this is the time, let Zhou Zechuan fight with all his might. Players will fight like Saiyans. You can only hear the sonic boom, and you can't even see the shadow of Zhou Zechuan. With 627 points of agility, the movement speed is exaggerated enough. Even more exaggerated is Zhou Zechuan's attack speed. Under the influence of online game templates, 10 dexterity equals 1.0 attack speed, attacks per second. 627 points of agility, that is 62.7 attack speed. At most, 5 knives per second, Jo Zechuan's 627,000 knives per second. Even if the injury of each knife is scraping 62.7 times in 1 second, the target has to scrape off a layer of skin. After seeing that his combat power changes with attributes, Jo Zechuan couldn't help feeling a little puzzled. He has an online game template, and only when the attribute value is improved can there be a bonus like 4.9. Those aliens, they don't have online game templates. Even if the attribute value is high, the combat power should not be as terrifying as he is now. Ask the system. The system responded immediately. The attributes of alien races are indeed more than 10 times that of ordinary humans. But their attributes and combat power conversion are not as exaggerated as the players. Player. 1 point of constitution equals 10 health points. 1 point of agility equals 1 movement speed equals 0.1 attack speed. Interracial. It is possible that 10 points of constitution and 20 points of constitution are equal to 10 health points. 10 agility and 20 agility are equal to 1 movement speed. Moreover, no matter how high the agility of the foreign race is, it is absolutely impossible for the attack speed to reach 62.7. There are limits to this. After clearing his mind, Jo Zechuan breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that players who open the Netizen template plugin will still be able to break heads with other races in the future. After eating books used up all the points, Jo Zechuan collapsed on the bed. He did not expect the pleasant activity of enhancing attributes can be so tiring. 1050%. Jo Zechuan felt as soon as he closed his eyes. Words like whether to use the Book of Life came to mind. I have to take it easy. Bang, bang, bang. At this time, a powerful knocking sound came from the aisle. Jo Zechuan quickly judged that it was the sound of a hammer. Is this to reinforce your own door? Jo Zechuan didn't open his eyes. He shook his head on the bed and smiled. First I built grass walls, and now I strengthen my own door. It seems that the previous wave of zombie invasion scared them enough. The knocking continued. Jo Zechuan vaguely felt something was wrong. The sound of a hammer hitting the door. It seemed a little too close to him. It's my door that smashed. Jo Zechuan opened his eyes suddenly, got up and was about to open the door. Catch, sound. The hammer has knocked through the door and penetrated into the room. Jo Zechuan's movement speed was hundreds of points faster than Jo Zechuan's, but he didn't catch up. Furious Jo Zechuan walked over and tore down all the broken doors. Inside the aisle, it's Star City Stark holding a hammer and preparing for the next blow. Give you a word time. Jo Zechuan took a deep breath, looked at Stark City Stark and said. This is also the privilege of explaining to Stark City Stark, a capable worker who helped Jo Zechuan earn a lot of points. Change to other players who dared to smash Jo Zechuan's gate. Now you have entered the interface to be revived. Brother Chuan. Seeing Jo Zechuan's angry face, Stark of Star City was also a little surprised. He was also fortunate in his heart. Fortunately, his NPC favorability was high enough. Otherwise, Brother Chuan, don't get me wrong. Star City Stark said very quickly. The purpose of my smashing the door is to help you build a new door. There was a zombie invasion before, it was too dangerous. I'll use the grass wall to help you change a door, the protection ability must be higher. Jo Zechuan narrowed his eyes and looked at Star City Stark suspiciously. For no reason, you suddenly ran over to strengthen the door for me. He opened the God perspective of the NPC system to view all the status of Stark City. After such an investigation, Jo Zechuan immediately knew the reason. Feelings or the proficiency of this guy's grass wall construction is full. He wanted to see if he could trigger the task of unlocking the stone wall like last time. These guys are really good at using game mechanics. Seeing the prompt that popped up in his mind, Jo Zechuan couldn't help sighing. Open black lens bracket collected new mission information. Close black lens bracket. The host can now release new tasks, the Iron Wall 2. Open black lens bracket Iron Wall 2 close black lens bracket personal. Prerequisites. An introduction to architecture is required, and a 100% proficiency in grass wall construction is required. Task requirements. Repair the door of the room where the NPC lives. Difficulty rating. D. Task reward. Unlock the stone wall construction and reward 10 silver. Jo Zechuan smacked his mouth. and said to Star City Stark with some reluctance. You, fix this door well. After Joe Zekwon finished speaking, a new mission prompt appeared on the interface of Stark in Star City. Mission: Bronze Wall and Iron Wall 2. Accept, reject. Accept, accept. Stark excitedly accepted the task. Joe Zekwon frowned. Rizal was helpless. This guy won't come over to smash the door after the stone wall building proficiency is full, right? When you think about it, this is no longer possible. This is inevitable, Joe Zekwon Shensheng added. Next time, if you dare to smash my door without consulting me in advance, I will drive you out of the residential building. Be sure to discuss it with you in advance. Star City Stark nodded repeatedly. He didn't doubt Joe Zechuan's statement at all. With Joe Zechuan's fighting power, he could easily invade room 1601 and kill him in seconds. It is not too simple to achieve the conditions for occupying the resurrection point, invading and killing the owner of the resurrection point. He could also choose to hide outside. As long as he doesn't die, it doesn't matter if the resurrection point is invaded. But the result was the same, and he was kicked out of the residential building. After Star City Stark got the materials, the grass wall was placed in a second. The difficulty is also in the transformation. The grass wall itself has extremely high physical defense and durability, making it very difficult for Star City Stark to modify it. Fortunately, Joe Zekwon was by his side this time. Joe Zekwon looked at Stark of Star City cutting the grass wall, and he couldn't help but get started. Star City Stark is commanding next to him, surrounded by burning water cutting. Stark City Stark tried his best to grind down a piece of grass wall, which turned into water tofu in front of Joe Zekwon. Burning ice, there is no hindrance before cutting. Stark sees it. I almost couldn't help but ask Joe Zekwon if burning ice is still on sale. With the help of Joe Zekwon, the task of Star City Stark, Bronze Wall and Iron Wall was completed in a few minutes. Tisk tisk. If Brother Chuan was around when building the wall outside. Star City Stark couldn't help sighing. But on second thought, the outer grass wall was spontaneously organized and built by the players for the safety of the resurrection point. Not part of NPC quests. Joe Zekwon probably wouldn't help them either. Brother Chuan, you think this door is okay? Stark looked at Joe Zekwon with a smile. Joe Zekwon knew that he was going to hand in the task. Then he casually said, it's the same for me, but it's a little more environmentally friendly than before. The mission complete prompt appears. Star City Stark immediately checks his sub-professional skills. Nice. Stone wall construction has been unlocked. Stone wall construction 1x1x1m. Need. Stone brick x20. Stone wall. Physical defense 500. Durability 300. Stone walls are easier to obtain than grass walls. Star City Stark took a look at the construction skills and said pleasantly. The grass wall also needs to pluck branches, pick up grass, and find ropes. Stone walls, just bricks. This is the end of the world. There are ruins everywhere, and the most indispensable thing is bricks. Star City Stark looked at the attributes of the stone wall again, took a deep breath and said. The physical defense of the stone wall is as high as 500 points. The durability is as high as 300 points. And there is no obvious weakness. As long as the second stone wall is built, with the protection ability of residential buildings, it will be absolutely stable in the early stage of the game. Star City Stark did not hesitate, and directly sent screenshots of all relevant information about Stonewall to the core player group. The skill of building stone walls and the attributes of stone walls immediately aroused discussion among players. Open black lens bracket. I am not wrong, right? The physical defense and durability of this stone wall are so high, close black lens bracket. My armor and physical defense are only 65 points, so I can easily resist the attack of elite zombies. The protection and durability of this stone wall are almost 10 times that of mine. Zombie. Tired, destroyed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Not much to say. If this wall can really be built, our resurrection point will be stable. Close black lens bracket. Hee, what a bunch of short-sighted people. The pigeons became smart and looked at the group chat messages. A sneer could not help but leak from the corner of their mouths. He has to type to show off his IQ. No way, no way. I'm not the only one who sees the true value of Stonewall, am I? With so many newcomers out there, there is no safe resurrection point. If you have sub-professional skills for construction, why not care about yourself? Don't you want to collect money to help the newbies build walls? Get rich in minutes. Close black lens bracket. The chat group paused for a few seconds. Then start to swipe the screen like crazy. Open black lens bracket. Old she will build walls for the newbies for money. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Old she will build walls for the newbies for money. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Old history will be for money. Close black lens bracket. Pigeons have become refined. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. After the pigeon became a master and spoke, dozens of such messages were posted directly. Turning the pigeons into fines makes people feel numb. Pigeon spirit, you are too small. Pigeon spirit, you are too small. Open black lens bracket. Pigeon essence, close black lens bracket. In the chat group, the formation changed and dozens of messages were posted. Many of them were even sent by his teammates. Stark couldn't help laughing while watching the message in the aisle. If you want to show off your unique understanding of the game, don't blame the group of friends for disgusting you. But seeing the players getting more and more biased, he still typed. Building wall protection outside our residential buildings is for the safety of all of us. And that includes me too. This is of course free of charge. It's just that, the material problem, still has to be the same as before, so I'm sorry to bother you. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Isn't this just a coincidence? I'm worried that I have nothing to do. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Don't worry, it's just moving bricks. It's easier than pulling trees and weeds. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. I remembered that moving bricks seems to have the effect of increasing strength attributes. Although it is far from killing monsters, it is still useful. Close black lens bracket. Moving materials can also pull out power attributes. It's very nice. The words of Stark caused a lot of repercussions from the core players. Only the pigeons, which are hostile forces, became a little bit confused. Didn't it say that if someone oppresses someone with real assets, they should join forces to deal with it? As a result, these guys not only did not unite to resist. Instead, one by one, I can't wait to go to work for Stark in Star City. Pigeons become fine and people become numb. Is this the happiness of the Krypton Gold boss? You can't imagine it. Soon, more than 100 core players went out to move bricks collectively. These core players are all above level 10. There is no experience in killing E-level ordinary zombies. If you want to upgrade, you can only find higher level monsters in the last days. But killing monsters to upgrade, it's not the purpose of these Doomsday core players playing the game. What is the game of the end of the world? Build a home. Survive. Unlike other online games, monsters are brushed and upgraded every day. The level equipment is enough, and the monsters are also tired. Then gang wars and national wars began. PvP has been turned upside down. For these Doomsday core players, it is more fun to play games, or to build a home with invincible protection and everything. A wasteland world full of monsters. They have a more comfortable abode than reality. This sense of contrast is where the fun of these end-of-the-world core players lies. After the foundation of building a home is laid, then go to explore this unknown end of the world. So, after learning that I can move bricks to help build the wall, these players showed no resistance. She was all excited. If you don't roll materials for a day, you will feel uncomfortable all over. Finally ready to move bricks. The enthusiasm of the core players to move bricks is higher than that of killing zombies. The brick-moving army went out to fight, and the newcomers who were new to the game were stunned. Why don't these 10-level bosses form a team to kill the boss? Why are they all moving bricks here? Is this an efficient upgrade method explored by the big guys? Some newcomers who didn't know why even followed suit and moved bricks to the residential buildings. The big guys are doing this, so just follow along. These cute newcomers didn't work in vain. Fortunately, they just met Star City Stark, who was also in a good mood. Star City Stark promised them that after building the stone wall in front of the residential building, he would also help them build a layer of protection around their resurrection point. Certainly, it certainly won't be that big. In the initial resurrection alley, From a few people appearing one after another, suddenly there were more than 500 people. Except for a few, Yin Daemong and cousin, whose names have been set in the game. The rest of the player ID prefixes have a CCTG. Some players recognize it at a glance. These are the guild players established by Yin Daemong, cousin and other anchors. CCTG, the guild, it can be said that all of them are here. Hundreds of CCTG IDs, all passers-by and players are stunned at once. Only, such a narrow alleyway, so many players online at the same time. I said, don't come in all at once. Jia Nima is too crowded. Yin Daemong pushed his cousin who pushed himself against the wall. Cousin, haven't you played before? Why is your resurrection point here? The cousin didn't call when he heard the words. It wasn't the last time you went to get that fat zombie and caused a wave of E-class elite zombies. I was at the resurrection point next to the community, and I was directly swept away by this wave of zombies. I'm going to pick up the task of infrastructure construction later, and set the resurrection point again. Yin Daemong smiled awkwardly. I remember that this task rewards 1 silver, it's not just right. That was the first time there was a novice benefit, and now I take this task again, but I have to give NPC 1 silver, lead his cousin a bad temper. I'll give it later, I'll give it. In order to change the subject, Yin Daemong immediately shouted towards the front, hey, the team moves forward a little bit. Boss, the team can't move. There are a large number of players moving bricks in front. A water friend responded. They are all more than 10 levels, and they should be the first batch of Gao Wan to enter the game. What? Those high-ranking players are all cheating. Yin Da was dumbfounded. Di Wang, is there such a way of playing in the strategy you summarized? Di Wang, whose face was deformed by being squeezed, said with difficulty. Carrying heavy objects, or exercising by yourself can increase attributes, but it is far less than killing monsters. It is also possible that they have absolutely no experience in killing zombies, and rely on this method to increase attributes. Upgrade by moving bricks. Isn't it more comfortable to find the boss to kill? Yin Daemong muttered. Forget it, I'd better ask a professional. This game is so popular, he should have already started playing it. Yin Daemong opened another window and turned on WeiQ voice. The remark of the voice object is exactly the initiator of this brick-moving movement, Star City Stark. The two knew each other before. Yin Daemong's 15-hour game room was built with Stark's help. However, knowledge is knowledge, but deep friendship is not counted. It is a casual acquaintance who may only contact once in a few months, or even more than half a year. This also caused Yin Daemong to have no idea that Star City Stark was the first batch of players and had already developed. Now I encounter a situation like, stuck, and don't know what to do. Yin Daemong finally remembered that there was such a post-apocalyptic Gao Wan in his friend list. After chatting with Stark for a while, Yin Daemong knew the ins and outs. Hey, they are not trying to improve the attributes, or they are simply building walls with bricks to protect the resurrection point. Yin Da slammed his mouth and said, a group of more than 10 levels of high-level players with skills and equipment, if they don't form a group to push the boss, what kind of bricks are they moving here? I heard that it was because of the previous wave of zombie invasion that they had the idea of building a protective wall. A well-informed water friend responded. At that time, hundreds of elite zombies rushed into the residential building at 730. If it weren't for a few players with luxurious equipment to resist, and the NPC single-cut the fat zombie, their residential building is really likely to be captured. If a residential building is captured, not only the resurrection point will be lost, but also a large amount of supplies in the resurrection point will be lost. The loss will be very heavy. Quote, if someone hadn't provoked a fat zombie, these high-ranking players wouldn't be so desperate to move bricks. The cousin added in a timely manner. Jia is not Mengxin's mistake. I want to know that this thing is so fierce, I would have already slipped away. Yin Daemong scratched his head in embarrassment. What's more, this fat zombie will attack the player sooner or later, I just move the time forward a little. On this point, Yin Daemong is right. Jockey and Blaster team up to attack the player. Jockey, relying on flexibility, strike first to kill players wandering outside. Blaster first observes the gathering point of the players, and then uses bile to summon a large number of zombies to attack. Blaster probably didn't even think of it. It hides in a corner, feeling the gathering point of a large number of human beings. Just settled on the location. With a clang, a CD iron rod hit its head. Smash it, call it counting. Not long after, the brick-moving team began to walk back. The original alleys that were packed to the brim are finally flowing again. They want to build a wall, let's go and watch it too. Yin Daemong suggested. We can imitate one or two of the constructions of these high-level players in the future. More than 500 CCTG players followed behind the brick-moving team and came to the gate of the community. The end-time core players moving bricks walked in front, exchanging glances with each other. They have experienced many times of ransacking and being ransacked in the end-time game. Very vigilant. As soon as they reached the grass wall, they threw the bricks on the ground and quickly rushed in through the grass gate. Bang! The small entrance of Kaomen was immediately locked. Only more than 500 CCTG players were left outside the grass wall in a daze. What's going on? Why aren't you allowed in? Yin Daemong stepped forward and touched the grass wall. Tisk, this thing is quite hard. The grass wall is not enough, we have to build another stone wall, you see you are tossing people. The cousin shook his head. Boss, I feel something is wrong. Di Wang analyzed from the side. The door is locked like this, and it is usually used to prevent intruders. They are most likely worried that so many of us will steal their house. It's understandable. There are hundreds of people following behind, and I panic too. Yin Daemong nodded. I'll contact Lao Shi and ask him to come out and pick us up. Yin Daemong was about to send a micro cue when he suddenly heard the sound of drawing a bow and nodding an arrow. It's so far away, it can still be heard so clearly. Can only explain. The number of archers is huge. I'm out of luck, run away. After Yin Daemong came to his senses, he shouted quickly. But at this time, a large number of arrows have been shot from the residential buildings. Arrows rain into the crowd. Every arrow stabbed into a player's body steadily. These players are all new accounts, and their protection ability is equivalent to nothing. A wave of arrows rained down. Open black lens bracket CCTG close black lens bracket instant downsizing of dozens of people. Didn't it mean that the shooting in this game is based on realistic standards? Why are these guys so accurate? The water friend who was hit by the arrow shouted on the ground. Among them, there are more than a dozen of them. No, they have skills to assist shooting, of course they are accurate. If there is a problem, how do we fight? A water friend answered while running. And we gather a large number of people, as long as the arrow is shot, the chance of hitting it will not be small. CCTG, the guild braved the arrow rain and hid behind another residential building. They have killed and wounded more than 100 people. Fortunately, these are new numbers, and the resurrection time is very short. One group died here, and another group was resurrected over there. The numbers still look high. Boss, what should we do now? A water friend asked. Yin Daemong frowned and said, what can we do? We don't have long-range weapons, so we can't even fight back. The cousin also took a deep breath, and said, they still have walls for protection, so we should fight high and low against the paratroopers, and we can't do it with long-range weapons. We still have to grow and develop first, and then we'll find a chance to come back later. Dee said with a deep breath. But the NPCs are all in other people's buildings, and they can't do the tasks. How can they develop? The cousin shook his head. Boss. How about, shall we vote? A water friend suggested. Yin Daemong frowned when he heard this, and deliberately exaggerated. Fall, how dare you disturb the morale of our army, take away the equipment, and drive out of the camp quickly. The water friend was dragged away amid laughter, but he still shouted. Boss, this wave is really good. According to the strategy summarized by Di Wang, it is best to play with NPCs in this game. If we attack this building, we will be hostile to NPCs. Yin Daemong heard the words and looked at King Di. Di Wang scratched his chin and said in a low voice. There is such a thing. The first batch of players can develop to the current scale. It can be said that it was brought up by NPC. If we really attack this residential building, we will definitely provoke that NPC. Yin Daemong felt a little relieved. After a pause, he decided to distract himself and look at the thoughts of the audience's barrage. Ha ha ha, Jihu just wanted to learn how to build it secretly, but was cut off by others. Voted, How can a group of new accounts PvP with others? They can't fight. Water friend. Boss ordered it. Jihu. I initiated it. Seeing the bad-mouthing barrage all over the screen, Yin Daemon couldn't help frowning. I used to find someone to single out 1v1, and it was treated as a toy by someone. That was for the effect of live broadcast. Now with CCTG there are so many people, and they will be tortured and killed like this. This is a bit unreasonable. Jia must regain some face and boost morale. Yin Daemon thought for a while, then said in a deep voice. Originally, we, CCTG, can beat the crap out of those foreigners with more than 200 pings. Even if we can't beat it today, we can't lose the prestige of our CCTG. We must fight them to the end. Di Wang immediately echoed. Boss is right, even if we are more than 10 levels behind. Attributes lag behind by dozens of points. The equipment is a complete set behind. And the opponent also has various op skills. We, too, cannot surrender without resistance. Yin Daemon. You calm down for a while. If you are determined to do this, then I can only risk my life to accompany the gentleman. The cousin smacked his mouth and said indifferently. Anyway, my better equipment has been washed away by the last wave of zombies. Wait in the chaos, maybe I can touch something and go back. Yin Daemon saw that everyone had no substantive objections. Turned around and walked out of the bunker. And shouted. Fight for CCTG. Fight for CCTG. Fight for CCTG. Battle for CCTG. Many people also started to respond. Good. Great morale. Yin Da smiled fiercely, quickened his pace and rushed out of the bunker of the residential building. But when he just got out of the range of the bunker, a huge shield flew towards him. Clang. Sound. Yin Daemon was knocked unconscious. Lying on the ground. After the shield hit the target, it flew back into the hands of a player, which was Buckwheat Steamed Buns. This is his level 10 shield skill, Menhire Aegis. The stun effect of Menhire Aegis was super doubled for players like Yin Daemon who had no attributes and no protection. The stun of 1.5 is directly doubled and extended to 15s. In normal PvP, this control time is enough for Yinda to die a dozen times. However, the CCTG players swarmed up and protected Yinda fiercely, so that he would not see the interface to be resurrected now. The stun effect ends. Yin Daemon's sight also slowly recovered. Look ahead. It turned out that more than 200 post-apocalyptic high-end players in the residential building took the initiative to attack with sophisticated armor and weapons. The two groups faced each other, and then looked at the equipment comparison. Yin Daemon couldn't help calling out, "What the hell is calling Jill?" The buckwheat steamed bun in the front row squinted at Shang Yin Daemon and the others, and doubts arose in his heart. Strange, why are they all level 1 numbers? Initial equipment. This way you can also raid the house. Buckwheat Manto was also a little confused at the moment. Normally, it is impossible for new players to find other players to PvP as soon as they enter the game and do not upgrade and complete tasks. Even if there is a special column, hundreds of them are loyal PvP fans. That's not going to mess with the players in the first echelon of the whole server, right? That's not PvP, that's looking for abuse. Buckwheat Manto took a deep breath. There seems to be a bit of a misunderstanding here. Who reported that a player was going to invade and search the house before? Buckwheat Manto looked back at the team and asked. A player raised his hand and said, "We reported it. When we moved back, these people followed us all the way to our community." That's it. Didn't they attack you? No. They want to ransack the house. Why not deal with you outside and put you back in the residential building? Quote. The player also realized this, and his expression became strange. Don't other players have to come to our residential building to find NPCs to do tasks? Then they also invaded and ransacked the house. But they're id. The player also wanted to explain that hundreds of people with the same ID rushed over at once, which seemed like an organized operation. But looking at it now, the fact is that there was a misunderstanding, and he could only shut up resentfully. The buckwheat steamed bun patted his forehead, and suddenly felt a toothache. Other games also monopolize goods and speculate on gold coins. We are now tasked with monopolizing NPCs. Do this a few more times, and we will be officially sanctioned by a game company. Stop. At this time, Star City Stark hurried over with Wu Lianzuo. He was drawing the design drawings of the stone wall in room 1601, when he heard a player say that a guild had invaded here. This is of course not serious. Star City Stark does not believe that with the level and equipment of the people in the residential building leading, there will be players who can take it down. He continued to stay in room 1601 and continued to draw pictures. If he also participated in this battle, at least 2/3 of the 500 people would be killed by him with AKM. Of course, this is only assuming that there are really players invading. If Star City Stark really participated in the battle, the players who saw CCTG would not be able to fight at all. Point 0. He knew CCTG was Yin Daemong's game guild. And he just told Yin Daemong the news about the construction of stone walls in residential buildings. How could Yin Daemong bring the guild to raid residential buildings? After drawing the blueprint of the stone wall, walk out of room 1601, and Stark casually enters the room. He knew something was wrong. He rushed over as quickly as possible. Fortunately, we arrived before things got worse. Old Shi, you are here. After Yin Daemong saw Stark in Star City, he felt a faint sense of residence. He just wanted to go in and see the stone wall. Then it was cut. My heart is bitter. Stark quickly understood the ins and outs of the whole matter with Buckwheat Manto. Simply put, it's just that the players in the residential building were frightened by the big guy in the last row of hundreds of numbers. And then caused this conflict. But as far as Stark City Stark understands, the ID CCTG is too bluffing. Hundreds of people with the same ID prefix suddenly rushed over, and everyone had to weigh it in their hearts, and no one could blame it. Pure misunderstanding. Once things are said and done, it will be fine. CCTG, the guild did not pursue it either. Anyway, their group of people are all new accounts, and death has no loss at all. To put it more bluntly, with their strength, they can't pursue it at present. There are NPCs standing behind these players. Unless they can develop without the help of NPC. Then you can still retain the last stubbornness, and give it a try. After the fighting subsided, the grass gate opened wide. CCTG, the guild passed the entrance and slowly walked through the gate. Yin Daemong, his cousin and Star City Stark stood together. The cousin couldn't help but look at Stark a few more times. They also know each other, but they communicated online before, and this is the first time they have seen a real person model. Old Shi, how tall are you? The cousin asked curiously. It depends on how you decide. Old Shi took a deep breath and replied. What do you mean by how? I'm usually around, but according to Yin Daemong's calculation, I'm in my early 2.1 meters. Yin Daemong, what do you mean, brother? Before Yin Daemong could refute, they had already arrived inside the Kaoman. Open black lens bracket CCTG close black lens bracket. Hundreds of players followed tourists to observe and study the structure of the grass wall. Those who know a little bit about architecture can directly call the craftsmanship of this grass wall as top-notch. It fits perfectly, and it is completely impossible to see where the connection points are. It's like placing a whole 10-meter-high grass wall here. Seeing the shocked looks of these players, Star City Stark couldn't help asking. So, you guys really just want to see how our walls are built? Yin Da nodded fiercely and said, I just wanted to learn from the experience of you players from the T1 camp, but the result, oh. Star City Stark shook his head and smiled, these guys are indeed unlucky. Inexplicably, he was slaughtered in a wave, and he couldn't pay back at all. In terms of experience, I can share some with you. I've got my little book ready, you say. Star City Stark paused for a moment, then approached Yin Daemong and solemnly said. If you want to get along well in this game, you have to brush up the NPC's favorability. Grow the favorability of NPC. That's right. Stark nodded and said, especially Zhou Zequan in room 1501, Brother Chuan. He is definitely the main character of this game. Follow him. Did you see my fully equipped AKM? Brother Chuan bought it. Other players can't buy it if they want to. When Star City Stark said this, he smiled. When Brother Chuan's fantasy equipment is retired, I will collect it again. I will directly declare that I am invincible among players. Yin Daemong was taken aback when he heard that. This NPC is so important. Important, let me tell you this, Brother Chuan has never led a boss, and he has not received any mission rewards from him. Our land reclamation progress is at least 80% slower than it is now. Quote. Star City Stark continued. With us alone, it's not bad if we can reach level 10 in the past few days. How can there be so many level 20? Even the sub-professional skills grass wall construction and stone wall construction have to be unlocked by Brother Chuan. If you don't follow the mainline NPC, you can't play this game at all. Yin Daemong took a deep breath and said, then I have to visit this NPC with a gift. Gifts are not worth it. Brother Chuan has everything. Believe me, I have tried to close a lot of things. Star City Stark waved his hand and said, if we want to gain favorability, we can only help Brother Chuan with tasks, and run a map to tell him the information obtained in the last days. Then I'll go to him to pick up the mission now. You're already late. Brother Chuan doesn't have any novice missions to pick up. Star City Stark shook his head and said, novice missions are now issued by quartermasters and physicians. Brother Chuan can only trigger raids and sub-professional missions. By the way, what did you do before becoming an anchor? If you have skills like construction, you can go to Brother Chuan to take the task of sub-professional construction. Before becoming an anchor, Yin Da snapped his fingers and said, I have been in society, I have been a teacher, I have worked as a car repairer, lockpicker, and even sold shaved ice. Specialty words, proficient in 3 languages, Little British, Jinhua, and Yangguo Mandarin. He specializes in point guards on the court, and the Jianghu people gave him the nickname ABC. Star City Stark, are you serious? I'm a bastard for lying to you. Yin Daemong swore. The cousin on the side couldn't take it anymore. You can pull it down. Just you. What's your ping? You have tang. Your water have shit. I drink shit. I die. Can you also be called proficient in Little British? Just tell me if the foreigner can understand what I'm saying, and if I can understand it, then I'm proficient in it. Yin Daemong said righteously. You better not worry about this. Star City Stark interrupted. It's better to ask your guild first if anyone knows something about architecture. It's best to reach the entry level. Let them go to Brother Chuan and take over the task of building the grass wall. With the grass wall building skill, the resurrection point you set outside can be much safer. Quote. I also want to see if there are any resurrection seats available in your residential building. Yin Daemong murmured. Didn't you say you want to hang out with NPCs? Of course, the closer the better. There are vacancies, but they are all rented or sold, and the prices are quite high. After the stone wall is built, it is estimated that there will be a big increase. If there are only 1 or 2 of you, you can get a resurrection position by going out of Yan Kingdom. But the entire guild has only a few hundred people. Star City Stark paused, and suggested. For a guild like yours, it's better to find a suitable location to build a home. It makes sense. Yin Daemong nodded and asked. Old Shi, is there any good location you can recommend? Star City Stark opened the map and browsed for a while, then replied. Go out from the south gate of the community, walk 2 kilometers to the southeast, and there is an old community. There are players who have explored over there, and the zombies in the community have been almost killed by the players. You can take the task of infrastructure construction, go directly to clean up, and then set the resurrection point. Quote. Upon hearing this, the cousin nodded in satisfaction. It's only 2 kilometers away from here, and there is a mutual support. Great, let's become corners of each other. Zombies have invaded, and we can support each other. Yin Daemong also laughed. Such a good location, there should already be quite a few players, can we fit so many people? Currently no player has set the resurrection point there. No one. Why is there no one? About this, I have a small question to tell you. You say, Star City Stark reminded. In the past, the outer guardrails of the community were completely broken, and one of the residential buildings was intact. If there really was a zombie invasion on the scale of the last time, it is difficult for you to persist until we come to rescue. When Yin Daemong heard it, the people on the spot were in a bad mood. Doesn't that mean they have to stay under the wall all the time? If a wave of zombies invades, they are likely to be wiped out. Even the resurrection point will be washed away. Old Shi, do we have any other options? Yin Daemong asked. Star City Stark looked at the map again, and responded. This is the only building nearby that can accommodate hundreds of people from your guild. Any further is 5 kilometers away. It is very inconvenient to accept missions, and our players are not good at supporting you. Yin Daemong couldn't help sighing. It seems that the difficulty of the game our guild is facing is quite high. It is very possible to upgrade monsters outside. Go back and have a look. It's actually not difficult, you have a problem with your thinking. Upon hearing this, Stark of Star City waved his hands and said. Survival game in the last days, don't keep thinking about leveling. It is more important to build a home first and have a stable resurrection point. With the death penalty of this game, if you don't have a safe resurrection point to restore sand value, physical strength and store equipment, he was blasted back to the initial state in minutes. Quote, then how should we play? Yin Daemong was a little confused. Didn't you say, build a wall? Ask if there is anyone in your guild who has studied architecture. Go pick up the building quest, and build the wall. Star City Stark said with a smile. Just a grass wall like this is more than enough to prevent those zombies. It's safe to upgrade after the resurrection point is built. Yin Daemong nodded, and quickly asked in the WeChat group. Hey, there are really a few people who major in construction engineering. Under Yin Daemong's arrangement, these players who majored in construction immediately went to the NPC to get the task. Soon, a group of people knocked on the door of room 1501. Zhou Zequan heard such a big commotion, and thought that these players had discovered something new. As a result, it turned out that they were all new level 1 accounts for the task of Bronze Wall and Iron Wall. Moreover, these people all meet the prerequisites for entry into architecture. Is this an organized group of players who got the game strategy? Zhou Zequan couldn't help pondering. After the task is released, each of these players picks an aisle and builds a protective door by themselves. It is an extra useless protection. This is just an NPC's task. If there are creatures of the last days who can enter this residential building through 2 walls, the protective door of this aisle should be a decoration for them. After these players completed the task of Bronze Wall and Iron Wall, they went downstairs to participate in the construction of the stone wall and learn the experience of building walls with Stark. With the construction skills of online game templates, building walls is not complicated. Plan ahead and draw up drawings of the walls. Then, just like Mick, just go up 1 brick at a time. These construction professional players can basically understand it at a glance. With the help of the CCTG Guild, the stone walls in front of the residential buildings were built faster than the grass walls. Done in just over an hour. However, this excludes the time to push the wall to close the door. Under the stone wall, a 1x1 gap is left for players to enter and exit. It's not that they don't want to change a stone gate, it's that they can't change it at all. The stone wall is really hard. 500 points of physical defense. The cold weapons bought from the quartermaster will not take away the durable ones even if they are missing a knife. In the end, it was only a compromise, and another grass gate was made at the gap of the 1x1 stone wall. With the stone wall built, Unit 1, Building 1, Beluo Community, has become the safest gathering place for players. There are many players who would rather run a long distance to log off in front of this residential building. At least when you go online, you don't have to run the risk of seeing a few zombies rushing into the resurrection point as soon as you open your eyes. Then let him calculate the psychological shadow area. CCTG, the guild helped in the construction of the stone wall. Stark, who didn't want to default on favors, took Wu Lianzhao to the old community to help with the final cleaning. Make sure that no zombies can be found in the residential building where the CCTG guild will set up the resurrection point. CCTG, the player completes the basic construction and sets the resurrection point. Large-scale wall construction began in the old community. 500 players collect materials, and 8 of them have the grass wall construction skill to build a wall. A day passed. The dilapidated old community, the protection ability is directly stretched. It's not just a 12-meter high grass wall surrounding the residential buildings. Even the perimeter of the entire community has been protected by a grass wall with a 3-meter warning line. Even the 500 players in the old community were all level 1 trumpets. Relying on the grass wall for protection, they can also survive the zombie invasion. Of course, the weak fire characteristics of the grass walls, he noticed. Although they don't have full proficiency in the construction of the grass wall, they have already started to prepare the materials for the stone wall. For the rest of the time, CCTG, the guild, 1/3 of the players continued to be responsible for the construction of the resurrection point. 2/3 of the players went to upgrade and run the map. Improve your personal combat power as soon as possible. Although their personal skills are not as high as the core players of the last days, their overall cohesion is very good. The old community developed steadily within 2 days. CCTG, the development of the guild in the old community also drove the awareness of other players to build walls. Civil engineering, road and bridge, and even players who have nothing to do with architecture. They all began to study how to meet the sub-professional conditions for entry into architecture. In true Doomsday, from the beginning, only Stark had the sub-professional skill of construction. Soon there were more than 10 people. Dozens of people. Hundreds of people. Hundreds of architects have brought a wave of building walls for the whole people. Even if his resurrection point is set in a dilapidated bungalow. Spend a few hundred yen coins to ask the architect to build a circle of protection, and after, it can also be as stable as a dog in front of ordinary zombies. The only pity is that there is no architect to unlock the common stone bricks needed for house construction. Otherwise, instead of building a wall for the whole people, it would be a trend of building houses for the whole people. As the true Doomsday player camp initially stabilized, more and more timid cloud players began to enter the game. 3 days. Open black lens bracket real end times close black lens bracket online number. From around 2000, it stabilized to 5,000 people. With a large base of players, even if there are no large group guests. Joe Zekwan also gained a lot of points by relying on E-level tasks and open corner bracket level tasks. One day at noon, Joe Zekwan woke up from bed. He glanced at the number of people online. Already broke 7,000. And his points, after raising all attributes to 660 points, still have 23,312 points left. Even if you don't go out to fight monsters, upgrade weapons and learn skills. With the accumulation of points, he can quickly exchange for blood power and increase the upper limit of attributes. Joe Zekwan was in a good mood, humming a little song and getting ready to wash up. But when I turned on the faucet, I found only a few drops of water flowing down. Water cut off. Joe Zekwan frowned, before he figured out the reason. There was a loud knock on the door. A player shouted outside the door. "Brother Chuan, do you have food for sale here? I have starved to death several times." Ball, save the child. Did you starve to death several times? What happened? Joe Zekwan opened the door with a black question mark face. From the perspective of God, several players standing outside the door. The satiety does not exceed 10%. What's going on? Is there a famine? After seeing Joe Zekwan, these players immediately asked, "Brother Chuan, do you have anything to eat here? As long as you can increase your satiety, you can eat anything." Joe Zekwan paused, squinted his eyes and asked, "Didn't you all collect supplies? How did you get to the point where you were going to starve to death?" Hearing this, some players couldn't help scolding. Just mentioning this makes me so angry. We have so many players who have completed the material collection mission. The quartermaster has collected at least more than 1,000 kilograms of materials. With so many supplies, it's fine if he doesn't distribute food for free. I don't even want to sell it. Watching us starve to death in front of him, without batting an eyelid. That's a cruel heart. Forehead. Joe Zekwan took a deep breath and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead in embarrassment. Quartermasters do not sell supplies. It's not that he, the behind-the-scenes boss, forgot to set it. Based on the experience of the apocalypse these days, Joe Zekwan believes that the local resources of the apocalypse should be enough for players to use. But he ignored one point, the ratio of the player's active area to the number of people. If the player's active area grows with the number of players, of course, there is no problem in terms of materials. But, now the number of players has broken through 7,000. The map that the players run is only a kilometer or two longer than before. Of course, there will be an imbalance in material demand. By the way, you can make your own food and eat it. Joe Zekwan remembered. After the players complete the material collection task, they will randomly get a food manufacturing chef sub-professional skill. The food manufacturing skill of the online game template only needs materials, not even cooking tools. The food made by skills is not only delicious, but also increases the satiety a lot. The collected materials include food materials. Some players sighed. Now a piece of cake made by a player with a 30% increase in satiety has been sold at a price of 50 silver. Who can afford this? Before, I was able to rely on irrigation to support my hunger, but now the water has been stopped for a whole morning and I starved to death 3 times. Me too, I even want to try to see if I can roast zombies and eat them. Anyway, there are virus serums. Oh, because some players are afraid to use the resurrection point. They are worried that I will lose all my equipment if I die outside. Brother Chuan, sell some food, save the children. Listening to these players describe their miserable situation, Zhou Zechuan's head was full of black lines. You can think of grilled zombies. The G virus can't kill you, but the prion will also make your SAN value drop. I will communicate with the quartermaster and let him release the purchase authority of supplies. Zhou Zechuan thought for a while and said, but it is not a long-term solution to rely on the materials we have collected all the time. We have to find a way to get new food sources. As soon as Zhou Zechuan finished speaking, a big exclamation point immediately jumped out from the player's perspective. Seeing this, these players were immediately overjoyed. They even triggered a new group mission. In fact, after the water was cut off and the players came to the door, the system's prompt sounded in Zhou Zechuan's mind. After getting some information, Zhou Zechuan chose to release it. Open black lens bracket collected new mission information. Close black lens bracket. The host can now issue new tasks, the source of all things. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket collected new mission information. Close black lens bracket. The host can now release new missions. Food is the paramount necessity of the people. Close black lens bracket. The source of all things team. Pre-task. The number of players required, 50 people. At least one of them has an introduction to hydraulic engineering. Task requirements. Go to the water plant to investigate the cause of the water outage and fix it. Difficulty rating. C. Task reward. Improve physical fitness by 5 points and reward 1 gold. Food is what matters to the people team. Pre-task. The number of players required is 300. Task requirements. Go to the suburban farm to plant rice, potatoes, cabbage and other crops, and harvest food. The seeds of special crops can be harvested in 1 to 1 week, and need constant attention. P.S. The crop seeds of the online game template are the harvest speed of other farm games. Difficulty rating. C. Task reward. Increase strength by 5 points and reward 1 gold. The mission information is easy to understand for missions triggered by players without water or food. Find 2 groups of players, 1 wave to get water and 1 wave to farm. The only thing that confuses Zhou Zechuan a bit is that there are only 50 people in the task of the water plant, and the entry-level water conservancy project is still required. The difficulty of this is C level. And the farming task requires a full 300 people, and it's just farming. Why is the difficulty level C? According to previous experience, the task difficulty of such a number of people must be reduced to at least level 1 or level 1. It's just a field, what danger can there be? Zhou Zechuan shook his head. Regardless of what to do so much, as an NPC, he first released the task and it was over. Trust the players to get it done. After the exclamation mark on Zhou Zechuan's head lit up, a large number of players rushed towards the residential building from all directions. Now everyone in the server knows that quartermasters and doctors only have low-level tasks. And once Zhou Zechuan's head was highlighted to all players. That must be a large group. Zhou Zechuan's head now reads like Team Danger, return quickly, and Chong called all the players to come. Not long after, the second unit of the first building was crowded with people. The players who received the quest lined up from the 15th floor directly to the outside of the grass wall, Zhao's. However, the players in the residential buildings have the terrain advantage. The core players of the last days who are currently online soon accounted for more than 100 quest quotas. The CCTG guild who heard the news got most of the remaining quest quota. There are only a few dozens of task quotas for casual players. This kind of Doomsday survival game requires players to report to the group for development. Casual players, the speed of personal development and building a family is slow, and players who can't grab tasks but can't grab the group. The game experience is really not very good. At present, there is only one individual player who has a good game experience in true Doomsday. That is a player with lumpy flesh, whose IC name is Muscle Babe. Muscle Babe, retired special soldier, field survival expert. Except for the sheep balls that can make him leak the pain mask, all the bugs are high in protein in his eyes, and they smell like crunchy chicken legs. This is a player who can survive in the apocalypse without using an online game template. Muscular BA himself has superb fighting skills and top-notch wild survival ability. Such a player plus an online game template. He is the eternal god in the survival game. After the discovery of a special individual player like Muscle BA, many teams wanted to win him over. It also includes Star City Stark. It's a pity, the number of missions in the water plant is too small and it has already been full, otherwise Grandpa Bay would not be able to build a good relationship with his muscles. Star City Stark looked at the team list and couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Are you trying to pull Master Muscle into our power? Psyche asked, can't we cooperate directly in terms of interests? Just like us. Star City Stark shook his head. It was investigated before. This special soldier and wilderness survival expert came to take risks for the 100% simulation of this game. People don't care about the level and equipment at all. Pure experience of survival in the last days. Quote, could it be that retirement life is too boring? Maybe. Star City Stark took a deep breath and said. Because he didn't want to compete with other players for resources. A person randomly found a bungalow in a slum area as a resurrection point. I went to see. The bungalow, which was originally in ruins, has been completely restored by him with cement and bricks. 050 strange traps are everywhere outside the house. I can't match this hands-on ability. He should be the first player to unlock house construction. Quote, what's more, house building is just the tip of the iceberg of what he can do. That's all I know of him these days. Life skills, family building skills, combat skills, there is nothing he is not good at. Star City Stark took a deep breath and said, it's not just me, it should be that all player teams are eager to have such an all-round master join. I can see, Yin Daemon and the others' conditions are short of abdicating the throne. Shi Yifu glanced at it, and found that Yin Daemon and the others were already pursuing Muscle BA fiercely. Brother Dai, join us CCTG, we have the safest gathering resurrection point in the whole server. Yin Daemon leaned in front of Muscle Bai Yi and said, as long as you join CCTG, you don't have to worry about zombies rushing to your house. The cousin echoed, yes, join CCTG. We will provide you with unlimited food, absolutely impossible to starve to death. Di Wong also said, it's not just food, a great god like you also has the priority to use equipment. No matter what kind of equipment, you can choose it preferentially. The muscular Master Bay had a flat expression, as if he had heard such invitations countless times. He shook his head and responded very calmly. No, my resurrection point is safe. While talking, he put his boning knife and a large bag of homemade dry food out of the shit. Gear, his better. He has never been short of food. He doesn't need any help from the team. Master Muscle doesn't want to procrastinate any longer, so he reminds Yin Daemon and others to prepare for the task. The farm at the mission site is in the northwest direction, 55 kilometers away from here. You'd better prepare food now, or you may fall down on the road due to lack of satiety and physical strength, which will greatly affect the progress of the mission. 55 kilometers. So far, it was only now that Yin Daemon realized that he wanted to check the mission location. The farm is on the outskirts of the 5th Ring Road. The road is full of fog of war, and it's unknown whether we can reach our destination. To be on the safe side, it's better to use a vehicle to drive there. Yin Da took a deep breath, turned to look at his cousin and asked, how many cars did our guild get? There are not many brothers who can repair cars in the guild, and only 3 cars have been repaired so far. And now a large number of vehicles have been taken away by the uncle is about to sprint car dealers, and even parts can't be found in this area. Quote, the cousin replied, I went to their car dealership, There are more than 20 people in the car dealership, and I can see that they are all old masters. Their cars are of a high standard. Not only can the parts and interior of the car be perfectly repaired, but also a lot of protection and weapons have been added to the car. From tires, bodywork to glass, it can be said to be fully armed. The engine is also selected from hundreds of vehicles to install the best one. When the car drove up, it was no problem to run over the zombies CDCG. That can no longer be called a car, it should belong to the chariot of the end of the world. By the way, there are 3 off-road chariots full of spikes parked outside the stone wall, which are the works of their car dealership. As for the price, you don't want to know. Are you talking about the off-road modified outside? Star City Stark beckoned to them. Those 3 cars are all mine. For the convenience of running the map, we can't always stop because of some ordinary zombies. It's better to run over them to save trouble. Yin Daemong and the others were at a loss for words. After calming down a bit, Yin Daemong said to his cousin, "Our CCTG is such a big guild, we have to get a few chariots, this is a matter of platooning. Cousin, some for it, but the price of such a fully modified Doomsday chariot will catch up with your ST in reality." So expensive. Yin Daemong was shocked. Although Yin Daemong is the first brother in the Shark Host area, he does not spend money like a nouveau riche. Let him spend more than 100,000 Yanguo currency to buy a car in the game, and his ideological struggle is still very serious. Why don't we change our thinking? Di Wong reminded from the side. We spend more than 10W to buy the car in the game, why not spend this money to ask the master to come to the game to help us change it? Abandoned vehicles are everywhere in the last days, if there is no one in this area, go to other areas to find parts, the cost is only on the technicians. Hey, this is good. Yin Daemong nodded immediately, and chatted privately with a few people. At that time, let a few people follow the sneak teacher, and if you can get started, you should be able to trigger the mechanic sub-professional task. With the sub-professional skill of a mechanic, we don't have to worry about our future vehicles. Quote, "You guys are making eye contact here, are you chatting privately about getting vehicles?" Star City Stark said with a smile. Don't even think about the sub-profession of a mechanic, those auto repair factory masters can't trigger it. I reckon the main storyline hasn't reached this point yet. I heard that uncle is going to Sprint car dealership was inspired by you, why don't you get one yourself? My cousin asked curiously. That can also give us a friendly price. You have to know that people's energy is limited, because my thousands of masters are to me. It doesn't seem to be very difficult. Quote, Star City Stark paused and said, "Well, I'm just lazy. There are professionals doing this, so I won't get involved. Isn't it good to enjoy the service? Also, the following supplies are already open for purchase. If you have such a large number of people in your guild, if you don't rush to buy food, you are not afraid of famine." After Stark City Stark said hello, he walked outside the residential building, followed by a vote of mission teammates. Soon, 50 people from the task of Food is the Heaven for the People stopped in front of the fully modified off-road vehicle. Star City Stark glanced at the team and said, "In order to ensure the mobility of the tank, we don't use the Curry Country ride today. These large off-road vehicles are all 8 seats, so we will take 8 people. 3 cars, 24 people. Here we have 8 players plus an entry-level hydraulic engineering player, and 9 players will be removed. The remaining 15, you decide for yourself." Chapter 91. Actually, you don't need to be too entangled. Taking a car and walking have their own advantages. Seeing that everyone hesitated, Star City Stark explained with a smile. Take a car with us to reach the destination early, you may encounter elite monsters, and you can earn a wave of experience. Take your time on foot. It's very likely that you haven't arrived yet. We have already completed the task. White prostitute with 5 points of constitution and 1 gold task reward, isn't it? Of course, those of you who didn't get in the car, don't just lie flat. There must be a limit to paddling. When Star City Stark said this, his teammates couldn't help laughing. There are not a few people who have such thoughts. But they want to think about it, and they will never do it in actual action. This circle is only so big, if you let other people know that you are such a paddling madman. Die directly in the circle. In the future, you will not be taken with advanced team missions or world boss fights. How do you play? According to Stark's description, the remaining boarding teammates identified 19 level 20 players. At level 20, it has reached a watershed in experience, and E-level elite zombies can't get experience. Only post-apocalyptic creatures of level D and above can bring improvement. It is the best choice for them to go to the mission site in advance and clean up the advanced end-time creatures that may appear. Our current combat power is a bit fierce. All members are level 20, and each person has one armor and weapon. The prodigal's away looked at his teammate's configuration, and the corners of his mouth couldn't stop grinning. It feels so cool to be surrounded by thighs. Calm, I don't have the awareness of being a player of the T1 camp at all. Shiyisuk patted the prodigal's away's arm, and said with a smile. Our teammates in the future will basically be close to this configuration, we have to get used to it early. While talking and laughing, 24 people got on the off-road vehicle. The remaining 26 people followed on foot according to the route of the off-road chariot. Even if there is a wave of zombies along the way, some of them will be attracted and beaten by off-road tanks, and some will be directly crushed. The remaining 26 high-ranking players are not too dangerous even on foot. With the roar of the engine sounded. 3 off-road chariots screamed and used the Beluo community. The mission location is in the northeast direction, 30 kilometers away from here. Star City Stark looked at the map and said, "We'd better take the side road, the main road is probably blocked by abandoned vehicles." The sunny boy in the driver's seat nodded, saying, "Chirp," to the emergency stop army. The accelerated drift flicked from the main road into the side road. Sunshine Boy is a master driver in reality. The reason for having this ability is pure. It's just to pretend to be handsome and hook up with racing babes. Sunshine Boy should be the player with the best driving skills and the best driving skills in the current server. He drove the car in front of him and swayed into the side road, almost causing Enfeng and Lang's away who were following the car to hit the wall all at once. The god of sunshine is really good at driving. This drift and tail flick is better than my penguin speed and bubble cart skills. Brother, don't stand still, catch up. The apocalypse is so big that you can legally drag racing. Why don't you get your feet wet? The players sitting in the car shouted excitedly. They encouraged Enfeng and the prodigals away to chase after them. The car is not ours. If you want to go racing, you have to ask the owner first. Enfeng and prodigals away both gave the reason. Star City Stark, the owner of the front car, is also in high spirits at this time. He quickly approved the drag racing application. A ruined city in the last days, a fully modified off-road chariot. The combination of these two conditions is simply a natural drag racing field. With the permission of the car owner, Enfeng and Lang's away were not polite, and they stepped on the oil on the floor. With the roar of the engine, the 2 off-road vehicles behind quickly caught up. In this way, the 3 off-road vehicles drove side by side on the 2-lane fork. There was a lot of movement in the drag racing, and it soon attracted a large number of zombies. But in front of the armed chariot moving forward at full speed. These zombies were directly cut into pieces by the spikes on the car. This fork in the road was instantly covered in blood. Corpses were scattered all over the ground, and blood accumulated into a blood pool. The 26 players who came on foot will definitely not feel good on this fork in the road. Even if they are the core players of the last days, they will definitely not be able to stand this 100% realistic purgatory scene. The perpetrators were in the midst of the excitement of drag racing. He didn't think much about the psychological shadow he left on his teammates. It didn't take long for the 3 off-road vehicles to drive to the end of the fork. There is an intersection ahead and they need to turn right back to the main road. Seeing such a big curve, the drivers all knew it was time to show their skills. Enfeng raised his chin and said with a smile, "Overtaking, it's here." Prodigals away also said confidently, "Let you see, what is fast on a curve is really fast." Sunshine Boys responded in secondary to this farce, "It's time to end." Whir, 3 handbrake sounds sounded at the same time. Sunshine Boy drifted past this intersection with a perfect line. As for the other 2, all rolled over 720 degrees to the sidewalk next to it. Seeing this, several people in the front car got out of the car to check the situation. The sunny boy dragged Enfeng and prodigals away out of the car, couldn't help applauding. "You are real cowhide, drifting at full speed with the accelerator on. If you ask that tofu seller to come over, he can't even do it. After checking his status, and Feng muttered, "This is a game. I thought it would be a little bit of driving assistance, but I didn't expect it to be turned over." Prodigals Away nodded and echoed, "I also thought I could drift with one click. Fortunately, the people in the car are relatively hard, and there are only some minor damages." Star City Stark waved to them and said, "Turn the car back over and continue on the road." After the episode of drag racing, the group of the Source of Everything mission arrived safely at the destination, the water plant. It turned out that the pipe was broken, no wonder the water was cut off. Players who are beginners in water conservancy engineering said, "I'm full of water," after casting a glance. It's a professional after all. We figured out the reason for the water outage as soon as we arrived. Prodigals Away looked surprised. It's hard not to tell. Shifu pointed in a direction, motioning for the Prodigals Away to turn his head and look over. There are a few jets of water shooting up high over there. Quote. A group of people walked over to check the broken water pipe. Judging with a full body of water, there are several huge cracks, and the water pipe should have been smashed open by blunt force. Blunt instrument? Prodigals Away asked suspiciously. Zombies can't use tools. Could it be the local humans in the last days? An NPC like Brother Chuan did it. The NPC has no motive to smash the water pipe, some players denied. Isn't this cutting off your own water source? I think it's very likely that an advanced creature of the last days did it. Star City Stark speculated, "Night hunters, jockeys, blasters, in our hands. There are already 3 high-end end-time creatures that died in Brother Chuan's hands. It's very likely that there are other high-level end-of-the-world creatures, in order to avoid Brother Chuan, attracting us by destroying water sources, and destroying them one by one." And Feng took a deep breath and muttered, "It's just weird, so it doesn't mean that it can still plot." He said so, but he had already picked up his sword and became vigilant. Listen carefully. Is there a sound of a cow barking? It's over there in the woods. A player noticed the abnormality and immediately shouted one. Cow barking. It seems that there really is one. The rest of the players soon heard the movement. No, this cow's cry is not the same as what I heard before, it feels very irritable. If this is a real cow, it should be very angry by now. You can tell if you're angry or not. Isn't your family good at raising cattle? Yeah, the family raised some cows, and sold one of them to go to college. You don't need to sell the cow, you can apply for the poverty bursary. I can't apply, my family owns a ranch. Quote. Don't stay here, concentrate. Stark reminded. Didn't you notice that the cows are getting closer? All the players immediately quieted down and listened attentively. The barking of the cow is really getting louder. 623, at 3 o'clock. Pay attention, it's coming soon. Star City Stark shouted. At this time, Zhou Yuan exploded. A huge monster rushed out of the woods at 3 o'clock. This behemoth is more than 3 meters high and has a huge stature. Has a huge right arm. This behemoth raised its huge right arm and rushed towards the group of players. The players dodge immediately upon seeing this. But the impact speed of this behemoth is too fast. Even with warning in mind, there are still some players who can't dodge and are knocked out. My 50-point durable rare armor broke my defense in one go. The player who was hit found that his armor was instantly smashed into a broken state. And his HP also dropped by 12 points as the armor shattered. A swordsman player with a physique in his early 30s was knocked out half of his life with an armor. After Stark City Stark stabilized his figure, he immediately took out the AKM and shot at the monster that rushed far away. The bullet hit the monster's head precisely. -135. -113. -125. A large amount of damage feedback popped up, and the monster's blood bar lit up at the same time. Stormer, D-level elite monster, 8,000 points of blood. Star City Stark shared the information for the first time. This thing is a bit fleshy. My bullet hits the head and it only hurts more than 100 damage. You guys in close combat try not to be greedy for knives. After the Stormer was injured, he turned his head and looked at Star City Stark angrily. Pausing on the spot for 2 seconds, he rushed towards Star City Stark at an extremely fast speed. Knowing that there would be such a move, Star City Stark quickly moved sideways the moment the storm charge started. The stormer directly hits the air. It can't turn after rushing up. If this monster only has this kind of attack method, it will be easy to fight. Star City Stark breathed a sigh of relief, and told his teammates in the team voice, motioning them all to pull away. In the face of such a rampant Langtaching, then pull and beat. Except for Wu Lianzi, all the players present are core players. They didn't need Star City Stark to elaborate, and immediately moved to an excellent position with various lateral movements. They murmured in their hearts. Next, they will not be attacked once, and they will easily deal with this storm rusher. Close black lens bracket. The stormers launched attacks one after another, but the players dodged them all. There is no pressure even for 5 consecutive sittings. Players deal damage to the charger during the pull. It's a pity that the damage is not high. Cold weapons such as knives, swords, and bows all deal about 50 points of damage. Star City Stark's AKM headshot can do more than 100 damage. This go ba thing is real meat. If we scrape it, we'll have to fight until next year. A player whose ID is Papa C couldn't bear it anymore. He rushed towards the stormer with a dagger in his hand. I don't believe it has no weaknesses. Seeing this, Star City Stark shouted quickly. Don't worry, let's fight slowly, it will die. Papa C smiled and responded. Don't be afraid, just watch me operate. Papa C is a level 20 dagger assassin player with agility up to 43 points. Under the influence of the equipment's weight, it still has a movement speed of 35 points and an attack speed of 3.3. Within a few breaths, he was in front of the storm rusher. At this moment, the stormtroopers are still in shock. There is nearly 2 seconds of hard time. Papa C seized the opportunity and stabbed the stormer in the back of the head, heart, and abdomen with a dagger. -17, -34, -10. 3 damage feedbacks pop up. This is too shaved. While Papa C complained, he quickly moved sideways. Just dodged another charge from the stormtrooper. Agility is fine. Some players couldn't help but praise. Papa C smiled disdainfully. Nonsense. I'm playing assassin with C. Movement is something that's ingrained in my bones. Don't move, I'll try again, find the weak point and hit it. While talking, Papa C rushed to the stormer again and started scratching. This time the target is the eyes, lower part. -36, -44, -48. While the damage has been increased, it's clear that these areas aren't weak points either. No way. Is it really possible to scrape him to death slowly like this? Papa C also felt a headache. Try the weaker part of his right arm. And Feng reminded him aloud. And Feng witnessed the whole process of Zhou Zequan torturing the jockey. When attacking the special part back of the jockey, the damage is the highest. It was later confirmed that the back is where the jockey's G-virus gel is located, and it is also the jockey's weakness. If all the weak points of the G-virus variant are like this, the weak point of this impactor must be its huge unicorn arm. Where is the right arm more vulnerable? After hearing the prompt, Rexy once again stabbed the stormer with a dagger. Target, right arm joint. 5.0, puff. Dagger inserted. The huge cow muffled sounded again. The stormtroopers yelled in pain. At the same time, a 472 damage feedback floated out from the head of the storm rusher. The damage is 10 times higher than before. It's done. The right arm joint is his weak point. Hero C clenched his fist and waved it excitedly. He didn't pay attention. The huge unicorn arm that I inserted just now grabbed him straight. The speed of swinging his arm was so fast that even if he reacted, he couldn't dodge it. The stormtrooper grabbed Rake C with one hand and lifted him up high. Hit the ground hard. Boom, boom, boom. Hitting again and again. Rake C, the whole person was smashed into a meat paste. Fortunately, Rake C is a crispy assassin. With his light armor and low HP. After being grabbed by the stormer and smashed to the ground for the first time, he has already entered the interface to be revived. He was instantly crushed with one blow, and he didn't need to feel what it was like to be smashed into a pulp. Papa C is dead. His teammates didn't feel too well. Watching Hake C, from a complete human shape, gradually smashed into a puddle of meat. Several players almost out. WDNMD. This broken game really refreshes the upper limit of my bloody tolerance time and time again. Don't tell me, since I played this game, chainsaw has become my next meal show. The chainsaw is actually not bad, but the deadly curve is quite appetizing. Stop chatting and continue to output. Star City Stark, who has been shooting and observing with a quadruple mirror, found something amiss. He quickly reminded his teammates to concentrate. Old She, don't be nervous, we could have pulled it to death, but now that we've found its weak points, it's no problem. Rake C is greedy for knives. If he waits for the Stormer to go straight before attacking, he will be fine. Hake C is second. Greedy knife is only a reason for 23 points. Star City Stark breathed a sigh of relief, with some bad premonitions in his heart. This thing seems to be a little bit stronger after being attacked. At this moment, the stormtrooper stood motionless in place, muttering something in his mouth. After being poked at the weak point by Rake C, its whole person is a little bit bad. Brother who is close, go and listen to what it is saying. Some players suggested. There are lessons learned from jockeys. Players all know that this human-type 4th Order G virus variant can communicate normally. The player who was not far from the Stormer squatted down and slowly touched it. It seems to say again, of human beings. You forced me to keep repeating this sentence. Why is the blood volume of this stormtrooper dropping like crazy? The player noticed the abnormality and said in surprise, 2,500 points have been lost. It's more than the sum of our previous scratches. Run! Star City Stark shouted quickly. This thing probably has some blood-draining berserk skill activated. As soon as Stark's words fell, the Storm Rusher turned his head and rushed towards the eavesdropping player. This player can't afford to escape. The impact form of the storm charge remains the same, but the speed is more than twice as fast as before. The player who eavesdropped was only stunned for a while, and the next moment he found himself taking off from Woohoo. At the same time, there was a broken sound in his body. After landing, although he could rely on the online game template to keep his consciousness clear, he was completely unable to move while lying on the ground. Look at your own state. Protect against damage. There is only a little blood skin left. The debuff marked disabled on the limbs completely loses mobility. Many internal organs are directly labeled failure and the whole person has been cold for more than half. Seriously injured and dying, the remaining blood skin continued to decrease. It didn't take long to enter the interface to be resurrected. A swordsman at level 20, specially pulled out the physical attribute to 46 points, and the blood volume of 460 points is also equipped with defensive equipment, and it is also a second. A teammate he knew was surprised. Such fleshy players have been killed in seconds, doesn't that mean that they are all broken at the first touch? Next, it's time to test everyone's ability to predict. Star City Stark took a deep breath and said, with its current impact speed, even if we can react, our bodies can't move sideways to dodge, we can only dodge and advance. A player answered, it means that the brain can avoid, and the body can't. That's almost what it means. It is estimated that only assassin players can move sideways and dodge at the same time as the impact. Star City Stark continued to remind, don't stay still, all start to move in an S shape. And predict its impact target. The impact of the Stormer is equivalent to an extremely fast non-pointing skill. If you want to dodge such a skill, you can only move in S shape or predict its attack trajectory. Snake Skin moves, let him guess left and right, we are familiar with this. 5 consecutive sittings, MOBA core players stood up. Let's attract it to attack, you play output. The prodigal's away raised his sword and compared it to the Storm Rusher. And with the loudest voice, he shouted at the stormtroopers. Look straight at me, plant. It may be that the distance is too far, the sound is too low, and the stormtroopers are not moved. Seeing this, the prodigal's away smashed his mouth and said, this is also my taunt. Sanlian can't be used in this game. Bright label, bright expression. Go back to the city face to face. Hit, on the public screen. As long as there is one that can be used, this guy has already rushed to me. It seems that the movement is too small, let me try. Shiyifu took out a lighter from his pocket. Are you going to perform a fire-breathing show? Prodigal Zoe's eyes suddenly lit up. What the hell is this called fire control? Saikisuke said angrily. Shiifu lit the lighter in his left hand, and waved the scepter in his right hand. The fire control ability activates. A fire snake moves from the lighter to the top of the scepter. Then it spews out in the direction of the stormtrooper. However, this fire snake is not very long-lasting. Halfway, it has dissipated. Saikisuke had already guessed that this would be the case. With his elementary fire control ability, the attack distance is definitely not enough. But it doesn't matter if it can't cause substantial harm, as long as it can attract the attention of the storm rusher. Stormtroopers felt the heat of the flames. It turned around and looked at Wu Lianzuo. Wu Lianzuo immediately jumped left and right, and started to move around in snakeskin. Seeing this, the stormtrooper fell into hesitation. It's the familiar part of guessing left and right again. With such a long distance, I don't believe I can't get rid of his skills. Prodigal Zoe said confidently. The stormtrooper finally launched an attack, and the target was the Prodigal Zoe who was closest to him in the 5th company. Between one breath, the strong wind pressure hit the Prodigal Zoe on the face. The Prodigal Zoe instantly felt a speeding Tianwang truck passing by his side. If he is not careful, he will be sent away by the Heavenly King. After the storm rusher rushed over, the Prodigal Zoe froze in place. Such a fast impact speed. If you don't predict, don't move in advance, you can't escape at all. Fortunately, this time, the stormer guessed the wrong direction. This isn't a fight, it's a bet on character, Prodigal Zoe said with some fear. After the charger impacts, the backswing and stiffness time is still 2 seconds. All players seize the opportunity and output in one meal. Melee, touch and run. Long range, full firepower. The target of the attack, without exception, is on the right arm joint of the stormer. Rakese's dagger pokes at the weak point of the stormer and can deal 472 damage. The Star City Stark AKM shooting is even more exaggerated. One bullet weak point crit. Minus 1121 damage floating out. Break 1,000 wounds. After knowing the weakness of the monster, it is too much to fight. During the time of the stormer's stiffening, Star City Stark shot the weak point with a gun, and immediately emptied its blood bar. The huge body of the stormtrooper fell to the ground. And Fong stepped forward and disassembled the unicorn arm of the stormtrooper based on his previous experience. Soon, the system gave a prompt. Obtain strengthened muscles of the charger. Acquire open black lens bracket 4th stage G-Virus gel close black lens bracket. And Fong dug out these two materials from the unicorn arm. Bidding according to the old rules, I want quotations for these two materials. And Fong shouted in the team voice, I'll join in the fun, 1 gold. Asterisk 2 gold, 3 gold. The source of all things, most of the players in the task group began to bid. According to the subclass task released by Joe Zekwan before, the players probably figured out the basic functions of these materials. Variant-specific G-Virus tissue. Night Hunter's claws, Jockey's Achilles tendon, and now, Storm Charger's strengthened muscles can be used to smelt weapons. An ordinary whiteboard outfit that has successfully smelted the G-Virus tissue can definitely be directly promoted to a rare outfit. This is the difference between 10 copper and 10 gold. G-Virus gel can be used to extract G-Virus. Although it is not yet known how the G-Virus will affect players, it is definitely useful. The value of these materials is well known to the players. Most of this group of core players have some deposits. They started bidding, and the number of gold coins rose rapidly. In the end, these two materials stayed at 25 gold, and no one continued to increase the price. The main reason is that the current level 20 skill book in the NPC store is at this price. Instead of spending more than 25 gold to buy these two materials. Obviously, buying a level 20 skill book is more fragrant. These two materials were finally taken by Stark City Stark. For his kind of Krypton gold boss who, money is just a number. Not to mention 25 gold, 50 gold, he doesn't hesitate. Star City Stark gave 25 gold, and then divided it equally among the remaining 49 teammates. It also includes the 5 consecutive sittings belonging to their own people, as well as the 26 paddling players who do not know where they are on foot. As core players, they consciously abide by this old rule. Even if this game does not have this allocation mechanism. Is there any news about those two who are doing sub-professional tasks? After Star City Stark got the materials, he looked at Shiyisuke and asked. Saikisuke nodded. We've been in touch all the time. The head of the blacksmith shop and Dalang should drink the medicine. These two players are likely to be the first blacksmith and the first pharmacist in this game. After hearing the news, Star City Stark contacted them immediately. And let Saikisuke keep in touch. Even if they can't directly win over their forces, it is also necessary to lay a solid foundation for future cooperation. Shiyifu paused for half a minute, and after briefly updating the situation of the two, he replied. The pharmacist scoured the various laboratories in the college town. Finally found all the experimental equipment. G-virus is now being extracted from G-virus gel. Quote. On the blacksmith's side, the tools for smelting weapons have been around for a long time. But because there is only one material, I am worried that the task will fail, so the building is very slow. But now it's time for the finishing touches. Quote. We didn't misunderstand the person, their sub-profession should be changed successfully. Stark smiled and said, when they hand in the task, we will go there with the materials. The monsters guarding the level have been resolved. The material that exploded has also been distributed. Star City Stark, who dealt the most damage, was directly promoted to level 2, and the rest of the players who touched it also gained a lot of experience. Great harvest. Next, they want to focus on the task of source of all things itself. Bring the water supply back on. Under the groping of water conservancy engineering players, it was soon determined that only a few water pipes were damaged by the stormtroopers with their unicorn arms. All they had to do to restore the water supply was to replace the broken pipes. Fortunately, there are spare pipes in the waterworks. They just have to do the replacement work. Turn off water valves and replace damaged water pipes. The steps are very simple, but in reality it needs specific handling tools to complete. But the transport tools in the water plant seem to have been driven away by the fleeing humans. I searched all over the water plant but couldn't find it. Fortunately, all the players seem to have received super soldier serum, and their physical fitness is several times that of ordinary people. They forcibly used human power to complete the work that can only be done with mechanical assistance. After reopening the water valve, let the water fill you up and exhale a mouthful of dirty air. That should do it. Fortunately, the development of infrastructure in the last days is similar to our reality, and what I have learned can still play a role. Quote. Shiyifu then said, judging from these days of exploration, the level of technological development of humans in the last days is indeed comparable to that of our blue star. The difference is that this is a world with various alien races. Logically speaking, even if the G-virus did not break out, the native humans in the last days should have been extinct long ago. Quote. Perhaps, among the local humans in the last days, there are also those high warriors. Star City Stark shook his head and said, this game company doesn't even disclose any background information about the end of the world, it's true. We can only follow the NPC to do tasks and slowly dig out the background information of this apocalypse. Having said that, Star City Stark took a look at the task information of the source of everything. Completed as shown above. We can go back, the 26 walkers should have gone back. A player who knew one of the members responded. They didn't go far, and they should be able to reach Beluo community soon. Maybe it was because I was worried that my friend would be misunderstood for paddling too seriously. The player also added, they were mostly slowed down by that fork. Zhao Qinhao, thousands of zombies were crushed to pieces by our chariots. Walking on that road, every step has the feeling of stepping on SHI. They have already vomited several times. Fortunately, we can go back the same way in a chariot. Some players rejoiced. Hiss, it seems that the vehicle in this game is very important. Gang. Some players made up their minds and said, I will go back to Uncle is about to sprint car dealer to get a chariot. If it's too expensive for Lao Shi to completely remodel it, I can do a half remodel. The source of all things, the mission team is on the way back. They took less than 2 hours to complete the task in total. The main reason for being so efficient is the mobility brought by off-road vehicles. Even if you encounter thousands of zombie groups on the road, they can crush and gallop past. The other side, Food is paramount to the people. The players in the task group are not as efficient. Food is paramount to the people. The mission team consists of 300 people. Plus CCTG, the rest of the players. Players participating in this task start with at least 500 players. However, with so many players, there are only 3 vehicles that can be used. It is impossible to get a large number of players to the farm quickly. Together, Yin Daemong, his cousin, Diwang and others decided to follow the source of all things task group. The 3 vehicles passed a group of people first, and the rest of the players came over on foot. But they ignore a very important point. That's the configuration of the vehicle. Star City Stark's 3 vehicles are fully modified off-road vehicles armed to the teeth. What is their vehicle? It's just an ordinary car that can barely be repaired to start. Can this car go through the zombie crowd? Obviously can't get through. As expected, as soon as Yin Daemong drove to the main road, he was blocked by zombies surrounding him. Your brother. The car can't move. Yin Da slammed on the accelerator, but the wheels were stuck by the wreckage of a few zombies, and he couldn't move at all. The vehicle he drives has no spike protection and does not have enough horsepower. Surrounded by zombies now, let alone rush out. It is impossible to open the door and get out to fight. They can only be trapped in the car, waiting for the zombies to invade. Fortunately, the rest of CCTG players are not far away. Hundreds of CCTG players arrived. Before the zombies forcibly opened the car door, the zombies were cleared and Yin Daemong and others were rescued. Yin Da suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Push the door with your hand, and the whole door is directly removed from the body. Only then did he remember to observe the situation of the car. This little car, the hood is badly deformed. Not a whole windshield. Even the car frame was gnawed out by zombies with many teeth marks. It was not very strong. Now it is shattered by the zombies, and it can't even be activated. Yin Da sighed heavily. It seems that the only way to complete this task is to walk there. He jumped on the roof of the car and looked in the direction of the farm. Observe the situation ahead. Just looking at it for a few seconds, his heart sank. On this main road alone, there are a large number of zombies wandering around. To reach the farm, there are still several times as long a distance to go. That also means that there are at least tens of thousands of zombies waiting for them. CD. Maybe there are all kinds of elite monsters in it. Thinking about it this way, these 500 people were sent there. Yin Daemong suddenly felt a little pain in his head. It's just a farming task, why is it so difficult? How can we cross this 55 kilometers distance? There is news from the water plant mission that Star City Stark and the others have arrived at the location of the big mission. After the cousin obtained the latest information, he suggested, shouldn't you wait for them to come back, and then borrow an off-road vehicle from them? I don't think it's easy to use off-road combat vehicles. There are too many abandoned vehicles on this road. Yin Da violently shook his head and said, if you look at the map they drove, they went through several forks and detours. We can go around too. The road conditions are different, I can't spare. Yin Daemong pointed to a fork in the road ahead, and said, on our side, even the side roads have been blocked. I guess, it is very likely that the unborn residents after the catastrophe wanted to seek refuge in the suburbs. Or this is the direction out of the city. As a result, the traffic flow in this direction is huge, and the traffic jam is the strictest. Di Wang on the side answered, let's advance on foot. Fortunately, the monsters in this game will not be refreshed. We clean up the zombies every day, and push a few kilometers away, and we can always push them to the farm. Then when we arrive at the mission location, the daylily will be cold. Yin Da took a deep breath and said, don't forget how this mission was triggered. It's because the players are hungry. It took us so long to get to the farm that the quartermaster's supplies that were open for purchase must have been sold out. Then the game has to enter the famine period again. Players have to worry about starving to death when they go out to practice a level. Quote. Listening to Yin Daemong talking about the famine period, the expressions of his cousin and King Di changed. Open black lens bracket CCTG close black lens bracket more than 500 people, asking them every day if they have any food is vivid in my memory. Yin Daemong and the others really realized how difficult it is to feed hundreds of people. Because there is no food, even most of the CCTG players dare not go online. Go online and wait to be starved to death. Seeing that his state is gradually decreasing with the increase in satiety, there is nothing he can do. Immediately afterwards, the vision gradually blurred until it escaped into complete darkness. Players can't feel the negative feedback on the body, but they have suffered a critical blow on the mind. To be starved to death is really too kind. This is an experience that all players in the server do not want to experience again. Since we, CCTG, have accepted this task, we must complete it as soon as possible. Solve the food problem. Yin Daemong said, almost gritting his teeth. We all have the determination to complete the mission, but there is still no way to reach the mission location. The cousin took a deep breath and muttered. How to walk the 55 kilometers, he still has no idea in his mind. Indeed, it is not something our CCTG guild can do to quickly complete this farming task. We have to find some other help. Quote, when Yin Daemong said this, his eyes widened suddenly, as if he had thought of something. Wait, aren't other boosts everywhere? As long as we gather the strength of all players, we will be able to advance quickly. You mean, Yin Daemong responded, take advantage of our popularity and post a post calling on all players to join us in killing the farm. Is it possible? The cousin hesitated and said, I mean, will someone join? This job is quite dangerous. Don't be so unconfident, our traffic is still a little bit. Yin Da smiled fiercely. Needless to say, the traffic of Yin Daemong, the #1 brother in the Shark Host area. Although my cousin and Di Wong are not top stream anchors, they also have a group of loyal water friends. Coupled with their respective personal connections, link up with other anchors to spread the call for posts. This will be an extremely terrifying publicity effect. Now that you have thought of a way to complete the task, let's do it. Discuss the time, meeting place, and route. At 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, gather at the north gate of Beluo community. Then the large army of players advances along the main road in the northwest direction. Take the avenue and push across to Wowan Farm. After the route was set, Yin Daemong, his cousin, and Di Wong first communicated their thoughts with the water friends who were watching the live broadcast in their live broadcast room. After the publicity of this wave of water friends is over, immediately contact other anchors in the host area such as Yangshu, Alway, Queen Dazhou, etc. that you know. Let them call the water friends to join this mission together. Under the joint promotion of major anchors, the discussion of real end times has soared wildly. Less than half an hour. Open black lens bracket real end of the world close black lens bracket relevant information has once again appeared on the hot search lists of major social platforms. #1 in Weibo hot search list. Real end time farming mission. #1 on the paper paste hot list. How to walk 55 km in the last days where zombies are everywhere. Tomorrow's headlines. #1. The real end of the world, let the players unite. Social platforms are so popular, not to mention those portals and player forums in the game circle. 9 German marks, Yu Min, Yu Sha, 3717, and even 9934 have put the real end of the world on the homepage headline. The farming task of true end times has directly aroused heated discussions across the internet. Domestic game companies, large and small, are simply too greedy to see the popularity. With such a huge amount of traffic, how many W can you earn? The project team of Goose Factory playing the end of the world every day directly started the 9-1-2-7 crazy overtime mode. Strive to use the greatest blessings in exchange for the early launch of Open Black Lens Bracket Everyday Play Doomsday. The Pig Farm released a message to reset the end of the world game after next year that was discontinued decades ago. And it is a virtual version of the game warehouse. Claims to create a breathing doomsday. The rest of the game companies even copied the true end times. They think that after changing the skin, it is a new apocalyptic game made by themselves. But unfortunately, there is no such black technology as NPC system. The rest of the Doomsday games imitated are just imitations and clowns. Players who have played god-level games like True Doomsday will no longer pay for these rubbish games. As the discussion heat exploded, the number of people online in the real apocalypse also started to go crazy. Under the call of the anchor, the previously timid cloud players bravely entered the game. Real End Times. Online number 7,000 from the top online. 18,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. Wait until 9 o'clock the next morning when it is about to assemble. The number of people online directly reached 20,000. The initial resurrection alleys are no longer crowded with people, but crowded with people. There are too many newcomers entering the game. As a result, the player who entered the game first was directly pushed down. More than 10,000 cute new players played stacked Arhats directly in the original resurrection alley. Joe Zekwan, who just woke up, was startled when he saw the system information in his mind. The number of people online in the real end of the world has reached 10,000. Please host to set up a new resurrection point as soon as possible. Close black lens bracket. The number of people online in the real end of the world has reached 10,000. Please host to set up a new resurrection point as soon as possible. Close black lens bracket. The real number of people online at the end of the world has already. The same system information prompt flashed directly in his mind. What's the situation? Why is the number of players soaring again? Joe Zekwan rubbed his sleepy eyes, and asked in doubt, could it be that there are some players buying trending searches again? He opened the host special map for viewing. It was found that a large number of players gathered at the north gate of Beluo community. Zoom in on the map and see that Yin Daemong, Diwang and other CCTG veteran players are directing. Is this all for the task of food is paramount to the people? Joe Zekwan remembered that Yin Daemong was a game anchor, and he had a vague understanding in his heart. So, these are all players brought by the anchor. Is the appeal really that big? Joe Zekwan hadn't had time to think about it carefully. The system prompt in my mind is faster to refresh the screen. The real number of people online at the end of the world has already. As for the rush, Joe Zekwan squinted his eyes, and shifted the map to the alley of the resurrection point. Well, as for in the alley at the resurrection point, many players have died because of stacking Arhats. These dead players were resurrected and went to the top again, continuing to kill the players below. Already in an infinite vicious circle. Joe Zekwan didn't think much about it, and quickly set the new system resurrection point in the open space of Beluo community. This is currently the safest area for players. After setting the second system resurrection point, the information in my mind did not stop. The system still prompts Joe Zekwan to set a new resurrection point. The precondition is that the number of online players has reached 20,000. So, every 10,000 more players can set a new system resurrection point. Joe Zekwan suddenly had a bold idea. In the future, if you encounter a Doomsday creature that is difficult to solve, can you directly set a resurrection point to the lair of the Doomsday creature? Relying on the infinite resurrection function of the fourth natural plague, even grinding it to death. Of course, it's still a land reclamation period. Joe Zekwan still won't do such a behavior that is too deceptive to players. He paused, and set the third system resurrection point to the relatively safer old community. The resurrection points of the three systems are divided, and the new players can finally walk around in the apocalypse. A large number of new players continued to gather at the north gate of Beluo community. Joe Zekwan didn't want to join in the fun. He stayed in room 1501 of the residential building and picked up the INPC. With 20,000 players, it is obviously not enough for INPCs to only have quartermasters, doctors, and mysterious merchants. Get a few more INPCs and put them in other residential buildings in the Beluo community, as well as in the residential buildings in the old community. With such a huge number of players, even if the tasks issued by INPC are the most basic and the equipment sold as the most basic, it will also bring Joe Zekwan a lot of point income. Beluo community, namely us. Seeing that the time is almost up, Yin Daemong took out the loudspeaker prepared in advance. Crooked, 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 well, there is a voice. Ahem, hello everyone, I am Yin Daemong. Presumably everyone has obtained information about our mission from different sources. A few days ago, we all lost a lot because of the famine. Today, we have the opportunity to make a difference. Go through this 55 kilometers of zombies and arrive at the farm. Grow food in that field and bring it back. We can survive safely. Although we have a large number of people, it does not mean that there will be no accidents. Please stay vigilant and take care of each other. This matter is about the fate of all of us, at any cost. We must take it. At last, good luck, players. After Yin Daemong said this, he put down the loudspeaker. He turned around and walked forward with a look of death. Oh, upon seeing this, the players immediately responded loudly. Morale up. The cousin followed Jie Dameng, squinted his eyes and muttered. I always feel that these words you said, where have you heard them, and don't pay attention to these details. When Yin Daemong heard this, he waved his hands in embarrassment. His mobilization speech before departure was indeed based on the speech of the captain of the lighthouse country. It is only used to boost the morale of the players. Marvel shouldn't come to ask him for copyright fees. Yin Daemong's pre-war mobilization ends. Nearly 20,000 players set off in the northwest direction. They have to enter the main avenue in the direction of the farm first. Then slowly groped forward in the confusion of war. No one knows what kind of monsters will be encountered during this 55 km. At the forefront of the team are Star City Stark and the first batch of End-Time core players. Such a big player event, of course they have to join in the fun. Those with the strongest combat power will be in the front row voluntarily. And responsible for sniping and killing creatures of the world above D level. As for those ordinary zombies, those who come into contact with them will be dealt with easily. Those who pass by the flanks will be handed over to the new players to level up. The second camp of the team is the CCTG Guild and the anchor team they protect. There is such a huge team of players, the promotion of these anchors is indispensable. Yin Daemong asks others for help, but he can't just throw it away when he runs out. In the game, of course you have to take care of it. Compared with the frontline players waiting in full force, the atmosphere of the anchor team sandwiched in the middle is obviously much more relaxed. Under 100% simulation, it is equivalent to meeting a real person. It is rare for old acquaintances in these anchor areas to gather together. Naturally, we had a good chat. To be reasonable, I should actually go to the first camp in the front row. Yangshu shook the tang knife in his hand and said, I'm a master at the end of the world game, and countless zombies died with this Daewon flame knife in my hand. Yin Daemong squinted his eyes and looked at Yangshu, and asked. Shu, you seem to have entered the game a day earlier than me, what level is the knife now? Yangshu smiled, and responded with a little satisfaction. Level 9. You can learn skills at level 10 soon. Yin Da took a deep breath and said, then you should rest here. CCTG, the group of players who focus on improving their personal combat power, have already reached level 10 by brushing ordinary zombies. If it weren't for the night demons in this area, they would all be caught by the first batch of players. Their level will increase faster. The members of CCTG are now waiting to farm E-level elite zombies and find D-level and above end-time creatures. Hey, old Yin, let me ask you something. Someone came over, and Yin Daemong turned his head to look. Discovery is the anchor of FPS shooting games in the host area, Frog. You say. Yin Daemong gestured. Have any of you, CCTG, played the doctor profession? The Frog asked. 2 doctors come with me. Doctor. Yin Da paused, and responded, you mean the sub-profession of a doctor, right? Among the 20,000 online players, there should be one who can trigger the sub-profession of a doctor, but we CCTG don't. The Frog sighed, it's a pity, it would be very honest without a doctor. My combat power will drop sharply. 99, I found someone to buy a pistol, you can just follow me later, with my shooting skills, I guarantee that you will not be in danger. The one who spoke was Waigugo, another anchor next to Empress 99 of the Great Zhou dynasty. He fiddled with the suppressed USP pistol in his hand, his eyes full of confidence. Waigugo is a FPS game anchor whose strength is close to professional level. However, those FPS games are virtual after all. Even if it reaches the professional level, it will take a long time to adapt to the 100% realistic real end times. Only players like Stark City Stark, who has mastered real guns in real life, can immediately use them as soon as they enter the game. After hearing the words, Empress 99 of the Great Zhou dynasty turned away from the aloofness of the Shark Godfather in the past. Responded with a good word with some wine. In this scene, the player next to him immediately saw a black question mark face. What's the situation? Is this still our Great Zhou Empress 99? Some Village Network players are even more confused. After some popular science, I found out that it turned out that they were ready to go a few years ago, but it was only recently officially announced. Hey, I just said that it's annoying to see crooked Gugo. A chubby female player whose ID is Pineapple Saishi stood next to Queen 99 of the Great Joe. She looked crookedly, with uncontrollable disgust on her face. DNMD. Even if you play a game, you will be fed dog food. Is there such a person? I just want to say, I have a gun to protect you, why is this just feeding you dog food? Waigugo looked helpless. I guess, this should be because the love rival is so jealous when they meet. A water friend muttered beside him. Waigugo didn't continue to say more on this topic, he turned his head and looked as if he was looking for something. Well, what about Zhuang? The one who was still here just now, call him over and let's report to the group together. Oh, Zhuang and Dajo's assassination department have gone to the outermost. Empress 99 responded. He told me that it's idle, it's better to climb the wall and parkour, you can increase your agility. I know this mechanism. Parkour can indeed increase attributes, but it consumes too much energy. He paused crookedly, then reacted. Wait a minute, do you really have the Dajo assassination department? Hey, it's just that some water friends are playing tricks, adding an assassination department to the ID prefix. Queen 99 pointed to several Spider-Men upstairs of the residence not far away. Hey, there, assassin department, Ying is next to Zhuang. Gugugo looked in the direction pointed by Queen 99. The location on the 3rd floor of that building. The player whose ID is Tofu Residue is about to jump from one guardrail to another. At this time, Tofu Dregs also noticed the attention of Queen 99 and others. He waved his hand towards Queen 99 and shouted, GG, watch my actions. After the Tofu Dregs finished speaking, he jumped up and just stepped on the balcony guardrail on the other side. Success at such a long distance, I really am jump, king. Beancurd smiled and opened the status bar to check. I guessed right, the harder the jump, the higher the agility increase. Ha, I am a god when it comes to agile jumping. Tofu's laughter became more intense and louder. A zombie was attracted and rushed from the room to the balcony. Tofu was startled, slipped and fell from the balcony on the 3rd floor. Boom, he hit the trash can on the street. Tofu Dregs turned over with great difficulty, let out a muffled snort, opened his mouth slightly, and stared blankly at the sky. Are you all right, Strong? Queen 99 immediately turned on the WeChat voice, asking about the situation of the Tofu Dregs. Gia, don't worry, I didn't turn on negative feedback. Tofu Dregs replied. Although the speed of movement has been dropped, I can't feel the pain. The reason why the bean curd dregs were stunned for a few seconds depends on the sky. It was because he felt that he had lost his jump king face by falling from upstairs. He passed even the most difficult jumping levels, but was scared by a zombie and fell into a paratrooper because he failed. Fortunately, it's only a slight fracture, and it can be recovered by spraying medicine, and there is no need to revive it. Tofu Dregs glanced at his status bar, and heaved a sigh of relief. If the injury is too serious and cannot be recovered with basic props, then he can only die from the resurrection point and start over. That means it will be difficult to catch up with the army of players. After putting on the bandages, I drank Energy Star Potion and Primary Life Potion. The state of bean curd residue is recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. After waiting for a few seconds, the bean curd residue can finally get up on its own. 23. Just as he stood up, several zombies rushed towards him in front of him. What's going on? Why are there zombies here? Tofu was frightened again. This is the position of the player's second camp. Could there be zombies rushing over? He took a closer look, and it wasn't just the players from the second camp who encountered zombies. Even the players at the end of the team were flanked by zombies. The advancing army of players has already fought against the tide of zombies. The little red dots representing zombies on the map rushed from all directions in the confusion of war. But all the players on the periphery of the team were attacked by zombies. Tofu Dregs is known as the god of pixel games and the god of jumping games. But he is not very good at horror games and cold weapon games. He has been chased by several zombies in front of him. Gia, Pow pow, crooked hook, come and save me. Tofu dregs called for help loudly. However, a large number of zombies also piled into the anchor camp. Empress 99 and Waigugo of the Great Zhou dynasty are also incapable of cleaning up zombies. Oops, now I really have to go back and start over. Tofu dregs saw that several ugly zombies were about to come over. He closed his eyes, and put a pain mask on his face. Hey, look at my 8 treasure bright yin grab. Fall, eat me an Ohara flame knife. The tofu dregs who closed his eyes suddenly heard a few shouts. And found that there was no sign of being attacked. He opened his eyes and found that it was Yin Daemon and Yangshu who saved him. Boss, brother tree, Du Fuja shouted excitedly. The big anchor in the anchor area, Tofu Dregs naturally knows this relationship with him. UGG can't leave now, let us help you. Yin Da laughed fiercely and waved to Tofu Dregs. Then entered the battle again. Yangshu can kill a zombie with a simple knife. But there are too many zombies, and his cleaning speed can no longer keep up with the replenishment speed of zombies. Why are there so many zombies rushing from the front? Yangshu retreated while fighting. Could it be that the masters of the first camp have been defeated? About this, Yin Da paused, and responded, Old Shi told me in advance that their first camp will not pay too much attention to these ordinary zombies, and will try to miss some of them so that new players can level up. They are really thoughtful, and they are not afraid that this wave of zombies will directly overwhelm the new players. Yangshu smacked his mouth and muttered. It can't be crushed. There are 20,000 players in the camp, and this wave of zombies is only a few thousand. You can win if you change one. Yin Da smiled fiercely, and said, Besides, we are here, we kill hundreds of ordinary zombies just for fun. Who said it's like playing? I can chop off head by head. Yangshu turned his head to look at Yin Daemon, and was surprised to find that Yin Daemon was holding a long spear and dancing with guns. That bit of cold light danced, and the zombies fell to the ground in groups. What about you? Yangshu asked with his eyes wide open, you really know how to use the 8 treasures bright yin spear? Of course. Yin Daemon smiled even more, my 8 treasure bright yin gun is invincible in the world. As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Daemon was surrounded by a large group of zombies, forcing him to retreat more than 10 steps. The sub-skill is ECD, wait for me to recover, I won't kill you counting. Skill, Yangshu looked at Yin Daemon again with doubts. Okay, I have a showdown. Yin Da shrugged sharply, and responded, I just used the level 10 spear skill, sweeping thousands of armies. The skill effect is to wave the spear in your hand, causing damage to 360 enemies. The 360 range damage is only 30% of the original attack power. But I bought this spear from NPC for 50 silver, and its attack power is as high as 30 to 40. Even if the skill has only 30% attack power, it is enough to kill zombies in seconds. After hearing this, Yangshu was envious. He put here a flat A and a flat A chopping zombies. Yin Daemon directly sweeps a large area with one skill. The gap is really too big. No, I have to hurry up to level 10 and learn skills. Yangshu shouted, Old Yin, let go of those zombies and let me come. My experience is only a little short of level 10. After Yangshu chopped down a few zombies around Yin Daemon, he finally reached level 10 as he wished. In this way, I can scan a large area, Yangshu said with a smile to himself. It doesn't seem to be possible. Yin recalled it fiercely, and said, I heard from the water friends in the guild that the level 10 knife skill is quick sword draw, not an area damage skill. What's the use of that skill? Yangshu asked. Let your flat A roll forward, a little faster. Sheep tree, this broken game won't work against a swordsman. Seeing that the crisis on the side of Tofu Dregs has been resolved, every Empress 99 of the Great Zhou breathed a sigh of relief. She took out the long sword from her waist, looked at the zombie and said silently. Playing the swordsmanship that Ning Hongye has learned for so long, I didn't expect it to be really useful. Empress Da Zhou 99 rushed in front of the zombie, raised her sword and dropped it. A huge zombie head fell to the ground in an instant. Just when she was about to get rid of more zombies around her. Bew, bew, bew. A USP pistol with a silencer pops up. Each bullet accurately blasted a zombie's head. After the gunshot, all the zombies around Empress 99 of the Great Zhou fell to the ground. Number 99. It's better to use this thing. Waigugo raised the USP in his hand towards Queen 99 of the Great Zhou dynasty, asking for credit. Big Zhou Queen, why don't you talk? Looking crookedly at the silent Queen 99, he muttered in his heart. I didn't do anything, why are you angry? He just wanted to protect Queen 99 and kill the zombies beside her. Why did you suddenly show him an iceberg face? Crooked Gugo was directly at a loss. He didn't expect that it was he who wiped out all the zombies in a single shuttle that caused Queen 99 to fall into a state of autism. Queen 99 has just killed a zombie and is in the midst of a show operation. In the next moment, all the zombies were shot off crookedly. The game experience, which was still on the rise, plummeted to a negative score. Who can stand this? At this time, Queen 99 was playing the live broadcast again, so it was hard to say anything. If she can't have a family education, then she can only be autistic. Waigugo is still thinking about his mistakes. The Great Zhou Queen 99 has been surrounded by newly added zombies. After Waigugo reacted, he immediately raised the USP pistol to aim and prepared to shoot. But when you think about everything that happened, he paused and put the gun away again. He can figure it out. The reason why Queen 99 is angry is because he has snatched away all the monsters. Indeed, if all the monsters he was trying to kill were robbed, he would be very annoyed. After the thought was clear, Waigugo decided not to make a move at all this time. Let Queen 99 kill all by herself. That way, there's no problem at all. Queen 99 learned some basic sword skills when playing the martial arts character Ning Hongye. Facing this kind of weak chicken zombies, 5 or 6 can be easily dealt with. But the number of zombies reached more than 10, more than 20. Groups of people surrounded her. Her basic swordsmanship is not enough. Soon, Nan 99 was bitten on the left shoulder by a zombie. Zombies chewed on her flesh. Her left shoulder was dripping with blood. Although the negative feedback is all about not feeling the pain. But when he saw a piece of flesh bitten off from his body by the zombies, he was still chewing it. I was really flustered. Bubble, what are you doing? Come and help me. In trouble, Queen 99, who didn't want to talk to the Crooked Gugo at first, could only ask for help. Good job. Waigugo agreed, and quickly raised his gun to shoot. Bew, 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 bew. All the bullets in the shuttle were fired, and none of the zombies beside Queen 99 fell down. The bullets were either outlining or hitting insignificant places. No substantial damage was done to the zombies at all. My marksmanship is getting better. Waigugo hastily raised his hand to apologize. As an FPS shooting game anchor, and it is still close to the professional level, how can it be possible to play the body stroke operation? This was obviously done on purpose. He is deliberately keeping monsters for Queen 99. If you cook a little more, 99 will return to the original point. The pineapple CC on the side complained, take the 10p 1911 pistols prepared and shoot one shot. Judging from the actions of raising the gun, aiming, and shooting, Pineapple CC is a complete amateur shooter. But it was such an amateur shooter who killed 5 zombies after the gunshot. It turns out that so many zombies gathered together and finished shooting a shuttle of bullets. It takes a lot of skill to kill a zombie. Bubble, if you have any questions, just speak up, there's no need to do this. Queen 99 also saw that the Crooked Gugo was intentional, and turned to glare at him. Waigugo didn't know what to say. Playing a post-apocalyptic survival game can cause quarrels like playing a break-up kitchen. After Pineapple Saishi eliminated a few zombies, the pressure on Queen 99 was much less. Pulling and beating, the danger is not very great. The bean curd dregs who had recovered from their condition also came to the anchor camp at this time. Gia, let me help you. The tofu dregs whose fighting skills are not very strong are entangled by a zombie. One person, one corpse, launch the ultimate solo. Oops, this zombie bit my arm, and my strength has been reduced by a third, please help me. Tofu dregs cried out for help. Bew, Waigugo shot his head with a USP, solved this zombie. I knew it wasn't the technology, but your attitude. Queen 99 said immediately. Tick, this time Waigugo completely shut himself off. What's going on? Tofu dregs, who was drugged, looked at the situation in front of him in a daze. Sister 99 is having conflicts with Waigugo. Pineapple CC briefly described what happened, without any embellishment. She said that she would be annoyed when she saw crooked hooks, but she would never interfere in her behavior. So that's what happened. Tofu Dregs nodded. It's too common to quarrel while playing games, just communicate well. Gia, Pow Pow's game understanding is better, so his rhythm is different from ours. We spend a lot of talking and adjust the atmosphere. Tofu Dregs finally turned off the autistic mode of Waigugo and Queen 99. You are really a good brother-in-law of Yan Kingdom. Pineapple CC couldn't help but praise. After cleaning up the zombies that invaded the anchor camp, 3 people rushed over with their swords in hand. In front of Queen 99, they clasped their hands and said, I waited for the rescue to come too late, and asked the Queen to make amends. 99. Empress 99 frowned in embarrassment. Take a closer look at the ids of these people. Assassin Shadow, Assassin Light, Assassin Gold. He is a member of the legendary Dojo Assassination Department. Empress 99 Fu Forehead said. You guys are playing memes, don't do such embarrassing things. Assassination Department. Shadow smiled and responded. It's not for the sense of substitution, role-playing. Department of Assassination. Bald Nod agrees. Yes, we have already drawn up our own characters. In this apocalyptic world, we are the survivors of the Great Zhou Dynasty, and we are bound to help Queen 99 rebuild the Great Zhou Dynasty. Empress 99. Good promise, good. Queen 99 remained silent. A completely open game, without any introduction to the world background, and the main mission is also unclear. Assassination Department Jin answered. In this case, let's design our own characters and set the main task rules by ourselves. Queen 99 took a deep breath and asked. How many people are there in our dojo assassination department? 88 players with good skills were selected from the Water Friend group. Assassination Department Ying responded. The rest of the assassination department members have dispersed to find a suitable location for us to build a family in dojo. It's a pity that none of the players in our Water Friend group have learned to build in reality. Assassination Department Guang sighed and said, even if you find a suitable place to build your home, if you don't have the architect's sub-professional skills to use, it will be very difficult to develop like that. When Queen 99 heard this, the doubts on her face became even worse. She pointed her finger at herself. Aren't you a bunch of fake fans? Queen 99, a top student in reality. Undergraduate, Tsinghua University, architectural major. Postgraduate, Peking University, major in metropolitan and regional planning geography. If you only talk about theoretical knowledge, she is definitely the one who understands architecture best among online players. In the end, her water friend said that there is no player in the Big Joe group who can trigger the sub-job of construction. Is this, when she doesn't exist? Queen 99 had a black question mark face on the spot. Fake fans. They are all fake fans. Assassination Department Ying also reacted at this moment, and said with a slightly embarrassed smile. I don't think this is an activity of our water friends, so I forgot to include you. And as the Empress of the Great Zhou Dynasty, how can I let you do the work of moving bricks and building walls? When Queen 99 heard the words, she quickly waved her hands and said, I don't have any objections to you playing tricks and setting up your own characters. But don't you really treat me like a queen? If that's the case, I'm going to retire. Don't worry, everything we do in the game is just for the sense of role substitution. Assassination Department. Guang smiled and continued. We treat you as an NPC with status, and then play the game around the Restoration Week as the main line. You can do whatever you want, don't worry about us. Quote. Okay then. Empress 99,493 nodded in a daze, then. I'll go find Zhou Zequan to get the sub-professional quest after this event is over. After the conflict between Queen 99 and Waigugo was resolved, Waigugo started his killing time. As long as a zombie appears in the crooked field of vision, a bullet will accurately detonate the zombie's head. There are many masters like Waigugo in the anchor camp. Although they are also Mengxin level 1, the speed of harvesting ordinary zombies is not much slower than that of players in the first camp. In the entire team of players, the only ones under pressure are those casual players who responded to the call and gathered together. Why did they cloud before? It's because you are timid and don't want to face these ugly zombies. Obviously, the number of players far exceeds that of zombies. These casual players were still being chased all over the street by zombies. Seeing that our army was on the verge of defeat, Yin Daemon quickly asked CCIG players to help out in the casual player camp. With veterans leading a group of cute newcomers, they finally stopped the phenomenon of players fleeing collectively. And seeing the veterans easily killing zombies, these newcomers seem to feel that the game is not so scary. The perception of new players is slowly changing. Half an hour later, they even dared to take the initiative to fight against the zombies. It's just that they dare to go up when there are many people and few households. The scene of a group of cute new players punching and kicking around a zombie began to be staged on the street. Those who didn't know about that scene thought that the little zombies were being bullied here on campus. The players pushed forward in waves, and it took an hour and a half to finally pass the main road. The fog of war has lifted from the map. They are already on the second ring road. The road is wider and there are fewer houses around it. This also means that the number of zombies is also decreasing. Just when the players thought they could relax a bit, a large number of extremely fast zombies rushed towards them. It's an E-level elite zombie. The movement speed and attack power have been greatly enhanced, so those new players should be careful. In Star City Stark in the front row, using the quadruple lens, he discovered the apocalyptic creatures that came in for the first time. Self-aiming general burst. Even these E-class elite zombies whose movement speed has exploded have been decapitated in the distance. Occasionally, one or two fish that slipped through the net rushed to the front and were cut into several pieces by the melee players of the first camp. Zombies, whether ordinary or elite, pose no threat to players in the first camp. But it's different for other players. More than 500 elite zombies rushed in from the flanks, directly smashing the player team into pieces. Even the anchor camp is the same. The crooked USP pistol does not do enough damage to kill E-level elite zombies with one shot. By the time the second and third shots were fired, the E-level elite zombies had already slapped their faces. Fortunately, Waigugo also has a lot of experience in melee combat, relying on his skillful skills to protect himself and Queen 99 and others. This wave of elite zombie attacks still made Awei, Yangshu, Dai Xiaomei and several anchors returned to the system resurrection point. The anchor camp didn't hold on, let alone the rest of the casual players. After killing the elite zombies, Star City Stark and Yin Continent counted the battlefield. Estimate a little bit, this wave of elite zombie attacks actually caused the player team to lose nearly 2,000 people. It only took more than 10 kilometers to reach the second ring road, and it lost more than 2,000 players. There are 3 rings, 4 rings, and 5 rings behind. When I arrived at the farm, I didn't know what else could be left. Star City Stark couldn't help heaving a sigh of relief. He also felt that Yin Daemon linked all the anchors to call on the players to complete the task collectively, which was a big deal. Now let's see. These 20,000 players seem to be a bit overwhelmed. It's really difficult to get to the farm in one day. Shi Yifu thought for a while, and said, so we'd better set up a stronghold at a certain distance, and then wait for the revived players to catch up and advance together. You mean, we set up a resurrection point on the spot, and then build protection? Stark shook his head and said, the second resurrection point has not been opened yet, we can't receive the task of infrastructure construction. We can't, but those new players can. Shi Yifu said, help them choose a house and clean it up, and get the key of the house, so that they can go back directly to pick up the mission and hand in the mission. After the resurrection point is set, just let them resurrect from death. In this way, we, who rely on the infinite battery life of the resurrection ground, can take the initiative. Quote, P.S. After using the online game template to set the resurrection point, the home no longer has a physical key, so it doesn't matter if the player dies and explodes. That's a good idea. Star City Stark nodded, and immediately passed on the idea. Doomsday Player Core Group, Anchor Group, Guild Group, Casual Player Temporary Group, all players who received the message said that this strategy is feasible. Everyone has no opinion, then we will choose the location to build the player stronghold. Star City Stark pondered. There are currently 3 configurations of game warehouses on the market. The online duration is 4 hours, 8 hours and 12 hours. We'd better base player bases on this online time. Make sure that all players can reach our player stronghold from the system resurrection point. Then let's split it in half. Saikisuke took a deep breath and said. Let the player with 4 hours of game time set the resurrection point at the location 2 hours away. Let players with 8 hours of game time set a resurrection point at a location 4 hours away. And so on. Quote, ensure that players of any length of time can walk back and forth from the player base to the system resurrection point within a day. This will make it easier for players to support each other. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe my channel.